But I said, if you gave me Mahomes, if you gave me Lamar Jackson with his great legs and Mahomes' great arm, or you gave me Baker Mayfield, who would I want? I would want Baker Mayfield, and the reason why is because Baker Mayfield.
I really think that now this is the worst case scenario for the San Francisco 49ers, is that they're going to have to cut ties with Jimmy Garoppolo if I were them.
What?
Oh my God! Wow, man!
In any event, Kyle Gibson is definitely my NL Cy Young Award winner. Rock on, Gibson.
And even
Oh
if
my!
you,
Oh!
no way! Oh my God!
Hello, welcome everyone to a episode of Sports Weekly. I am your host, one of your hosts, Ben Cruz, and I hope you guys are having a great evening. Welcome everyone to another edition of Sports Weekly, and it's going to be obviously a really fun show tonight. That me and my co-host that'll be coming on momentarily, Isaiah Leon. And we'll basically go through all different things going on in the sports world over the last couple of days, last couple of weeks. But yeah, just hopefully you guys are doing well. We're almost to Thanksgiving. That's going to be next week. So obviously that's really exciting. And we're almost to the last month of 2024. Crazy enough. So just really crazy stuff. Obviously a lot that's going on. In our personal lives and the sports lives going on right now. So lots of stuff. But before we get started with our content, I just want to make sure that you guys follow us as always right down here on the ticker bar down below, right here. Make sure to follow us on the IM6 and the MI6 Sports Network on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. You could also follow my Twitter right down here at BenCruz144. And if you guys like what you're seeing, obviously, if you're watching the show tonight, make sure to comment. We would love to get comments here throughout the program. And, we'll definitely get the chance to answer them right at the end of the show. The way that the show is going to be run for tonight is we're going to start with the NFL segment, basically go through a lot of the games that transpired from this past week. Including the Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills game. We're also going to talk about the LA Rams and the New England Patriots game that happened this past Sunday. And, of course, the game that happened finished about 30 minutes ago, a Snow Bowl game in the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we'll talk about that game and our overall reactions to that. And then, of course, we'll also talk about what games we're looking forward to coming up in Week 12. As there's, of course, going to be a lot of games coming up there. Crazy that we're already in Week 12 of the 2024 NFL season. And then, of course, we're going to get into our MLB segment, which is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Me and Isaiah are going to go through almost every single MLB free agent out there. And we've basically done this for the last couple of years. We basically call it the MLB free agent predictor game. So we're basically going to go through every single free agent. We're going to make our overall predictions. Then we're going to kind of see in terms of how we do, kind of leading up to MLB free agency. So hell of a lot of stuff that's going to be going on for tonight. Of course, as well, the AL and MVP for baseball, of course, also got announced as well. And if we get the chance to, we'll also talk about some NBA to recap the rest of the program. And if we get the chance to talk about some NBA, we will. But now we will get started here, and without further ado, let's get started with the NFL segment of Sports Weekly, and we're going to start with the Thursday night game that transpired tonight. That was, of course, happened between the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was, of course, a game, right, where you have two teams, obviously, in complete opposite directions. The Pittsburgh Steelers are just coming off high off of a massive win at home against the Baltimore Ravens, another division game that happened in Pittsburgh last week. And the Cleveland Browns, of course, have had a season to forget about. They were 2-8 coming in, Of course, Jameis Winston taking over for Deshaun Watson after a couple weeks ago. Deshaun Watson suffered a season-ending injury, so Jameis is coming in and trying to do everything that he can possible to make this Browns team fight off and play with some pride to complete the 2024 season. But just looking at this game as a whole, it was pretty entertaining, all things considered. And you kind of can see that with a lot of times in these division games, no matter how good or bad a lot of these teams are, typically they tend to be a lot closer. And of course, with the weather, of course, has a massive impact as well, too. You didn't really see this game potentially being a one-sided game whatsoever. So a very exciting and entertaining game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Browns, considering the records of both teams are fairly on the opposite end. Now, to kind of recap some of this game here, no score in the first quarter. In the second quarter, the Steelers got a field goal. The Browns got a touchdown run by, I think it was Jameis. I'm pretty sure. But if it wasn't Jameis, it definitely was Nick Chubb, because Chubb had 2 touchdowns, including the game-winning touchdown, under a minute left in the fourth quarter. But, there was just a lot of energy between both teams. It was 10-3 at halftime. It concluded where the Browns pretty much had control, at least for a little while. Then the Steelers actually took the lead and made it 19-18. The Browns in the fourth quarter had back-to-back possessions where Jameis had a forced fumble, and then he threw a pick. And then on the ensuing possession after Jameis threw the pick, the Steelers had a chance to really take some clock off and really, get it into their hands for this game. And on the third down play, they put in Justin Fields. And I didn't hate the play call, but I didn't love it at the point in time, because you're playing in the snow. You're really trying to run the football, or trying to at least, have your field toward you. And instead, they threw a deep ball, and I was off the ball by offensive coordinator Arthur Smith at that point in time. And the Browns got the ball back, and Jameis had some massive clutch throws, including a couple to Jerry Jeudy, right at the end. We were around a minute left. And then, of course, Nick Chubb, who had 2 touchdowns in the game, was able to get into the end zone for a second one under a minute left for the Browns to take the lead. They did not get the 2-point conversion. So with about 50 seconds left, Russell Wilson had a chance to go down the field and potentially seal this game, in the snow, to win it for the Steelers. Unfortunately, he did not get the job done. However, he had a chance to get an attempt at a Hail Mary. I said Hail Mary, sorry. But the Browns defense played it perfectly right in the end zone. And the Cleveland Browns, with a very big win. I know it's only their third one in the season, but it's a really good one for morale for them. 3 wins now in the season for the Browns. And the Browns, and some of their wins, right? 2 wins at home, but 2 against really good teams in the Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I know it hasn't been a great overall season for the Browns, but they've really done a good job to stay alive when it comes to playing hard and playing with pride, and they've done a good job with that so far to conclude the season here. So I think all in all, it's going to be a season for good for the Browns. They have a ton of offseason situations. Just Kevin Stefanski stick around. What do they do at quarterback? I mean, Jameis just came in, and I know that he only threw a pick. He didn't have a touchdown pass, but I thought he made some really big time throws. So on the other side of things, Russell Wilson, 21 of 28, 270 yards and a touchdown. Jaylen Warren also found the end zone, as well as Calvin Austin the third, receiving wise. And of course, like I mentioned, Jerry Jeudy, a couple of big catches. Jeudy, to finish off the night, had 6 receptions for 85 yards. And that was that. So yeah, I know the Browns have had 3 wins, but 2 of them against AFC division foes. So congrats to the Browns, and hopefully they finish off their season strong, for the rest of the season. So congrats to the Browns. All right, moving on. So of course, we're going to do a little bit of recap from this past week, from week 11. So of course, the Seattle Seahawks took on a division foe, and that was the San Francisco 49ers. And this was just one of the games where Seattle, obviously they haven't had really much good success in San Francisco, but Geno Smith Was able to be clutch when it mattered most, right at the end. Against the Niners team that has, of course, they had a big win in Tampa the week before in a game-winning field goal by Jake Moody in Tampa. They wanted to kind of, keep the overall momentum going, and they weren't able to. The Seahawks typically play the Niners close, and they went back and forth, and right in the fourth quarter, the Niners had only a 17-13 lead, and with about 12 seconds to go, Geno Smith had a 13-yard touchdown run, and that's all she wrote. Now, the biggest question, though, so, of course, the team that was just in the Super Bowl last year, the San Francisco 49ers, biggest question is, are they toast? And, of course, my co-host and Isaiah Leone is a San Francisco 49ers fan, and I'll pretty much say it point blank, right? I don't think the 49ers are toast by any means. I really do think they have been snake bitten by injuries. Of course, Brandon Ayuk going down the part of the season, but I really do. I do think that they've kind of taken a step back as well. I know that they had a really tough win in Tampa. Tampa played them tough, and San Francisco could have lost that game. The Niners really, they've obviously had their moments of course, great flashes of them being the Niners, but between injuries, between underperforming for some guys, it just has not been the same type of team. And so, the Seahawks obviously played them tough, and they played them tough the first time in Seattle, at least for the first couple quarters, but the Niners were able to kind of pull away there at the end. And this game, the Seahawks got their revenge. They went to their house where they struggled with and found a way to pull off a really big win. So, credit to Seattle. And now Seattle, of course, has a very big-time game coming up this Sunday in Seattle when they take on the Arizona Cardinals, have had a very good year so far. So that should be a really good game. But I don't think the Niners are done. I think it's going to be a really tight race in this NFC West. You have them, you have the Rams, you have, the Niners, you have the Rams, you have the Cardinals. It's going to be potentially, obviously outside of, I'm drawing a blank really quick. Sorry, folks. The NFC West is a 4-team race. The Cardinals are 6-4, but then you have the Rams, the Seahawks, and Niners at 5-5. So, yeah, it's anyone's division to lose. Typically in that division, there's usually like one team that's right at the bottom and they're completely out of it. This year, but there's been a lot of teams in that division that some big-time players went down by injury. Look at the Rams side of things. They're, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, they had some injuries over there for a little while. The Niners, of course, Ayuk, and Samuel was hurt for a little bit. Of course, McCaffrey. So they obviously have had a big time of injuries. The Cardinals, of course, have had their fair share here and there, right? So, everybody in that division is, they're getting sink big by injuries, but every team in that division has played really well here and there. So I think it's going to be a really fun race for the remainder of the season. But big time win for the Seahawks, and of course, now we'll have to see what happens there. And speaking of another NFC West, though, we're going to talk about the LA Rams taking on my New England Patriots in Foxborough. My dad was at that game. I unfortunately was not at that game, but I was away in DC for the weekend. Really fun trip, and already miss it. But regardless of the fact, the Patriots and Rams went really toe-to-toe. I expected my Patriots to play them tough. I didn't expect them to win, but I did expect them to play tough and potentially even squeak it out. And basically, the game kind of lived up to how they're going to expect. The Patriots actually started with the first score of the game, 9-yard pass thrown by Drake May to Kendrick Bourne. Bourne, of course, was not playing a lot the game before. They decided to just really kind of lose a lot of his snaps because they wanted to see how the young guys would perform. But then they put Bourne in to play this past week, and really had a fantastic game. So really a big job at KB there. 7-0 Pats. But then the Rams come back. Cooper Kupp, 5-yard touchdown pass from Stafford, tie the game at 7. And then, of course, the Rams take the lead, unfortunately, at least from my side of things. But what a catch by Puka Nacua for his first. I know it was his only touchdown in the game. Caught that too, but Nacua only had one. Nacua with a 12-yard pass from Stafford, a diving catch right in the back end of the end zone in the corner. This was right after the Patriots and Drake May. There was a forced fumble. The Rams had a great defensive play, sacked May, forced fumble, short field. Next play after, touchdown. Rams take the lead. And kind of the, life out of the Patriots, that their really strong start to the game kind of sort of dwindled a little bit, and now the Rams have a 14-7 lead. Joyce gets a field goal in the second quarter and got a 14-10. Now, right at the end of that first half, the Rams really had a chance to really pull away. Stafford had a couple chances right at the end, under a minute left. He missed 2 throws in the back of the end zone, one to Cooper Kupp, but I'm pretty sure the other one was to Puka Nacua. I'm not sure about it. But they were going for Joshua Carter was going for a really short field goal around 29, 30 yards and shanked it. And so instead of it being, a 2-score game or a single-score game up by 7 for the Rams, it was still by 4. So that was actually the best-case scenario, if anything, for the Patriots, for them to kind of stay within reach. However, in the second half, things kind of started to turn a little bit away from the Pats. Cooper Kupp, first drive, I don't know, it was the first or second play. The Patriots throw a 7-man all-out blitz. Awful call by DeMarcus Covington, who had a really tough game. Matthew Stafford, one of the best quarterbacks against the blitz. What happens? It brought the blitz, almost everyone. No backside help from the secondary. Kupp basically, I think, gets by Marcus Jones or Duggar, and Stafford puts in random money to Kupp, and that was that. Nobody else within reach of Kupp, and he goes to the end zone for a 69-yard touchdown. Rams take a 21-10 lead. Patriots get a field goal by Slime at 21-13. However, the Rams continue. The defense of the pass really struggled in this one. The Rams got another big-time score. Tight end Cody Parkinson got a 19-yard pass from Stafford. Stafford's 4th touchdown pass of the game. Great overall game by Stafford. And the Rams go up 28-13. Now, in the fourth quarter, it was all the Pats. They really, fought in this game. And Drake May with the second touchdown pass to no other but the big man, Vidarian Lowe, on a great play action pass from May. Nobody was in the back of the end zone. Lowe was absolutely wide open. Caught the pass, and Patriots were down 28-19. They tried to go for the field goal, of course, and to make it a one-possession game, potentially with a touchdown, a 2-pointer. However, the field goal was blocked, and then instead of it being an 8-point game, it was still a 9-point game. Sly gets a 42-yard field goal, and it was 20-22. The Rams had a chance to pull the game away. Patriots, the last couple possessions, to give them credit, started to pick things up in the fourth quarter, including a very clutch play by Jonathan Jones on 3rd down. And so the Patriots actually had a chance to go down and potentially win this game. Right around a minute, under a 2-minute left. However, Drake May, fantastic game the whole entire day. However, I don't know if it was a miscommunication throw or it was on May. Unfortunately, Drake May throws a pick to the Rams. I forgot the secondary player for the Rams. And that's all she wrote. Patriots had no timeouts. Stafford nailed it for 3 times. And that was that. The Rams with a 28-22 final in Foxborough against the Patriots. Just a really good game by both sides. Really hard fought, but I just thought that the Rams offense was just too much in this one against the Patriots. Rams go to 5-5, and the Patriots go 2-3-8. All right, so we talked about those 2 games, a couple games from the NFC West, of course, the AFC North showdown from tonight. But let's talk about the 2 quarterbacks headlining everything from this past week. And of course, NFL Today was at the set of the overall game, and that was no other than the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. Of course, 2 teams that have faced each other so many times, regular season, postseason. Of course, kind of a little bit of a rivalry going now between these 2 teams. Of course, 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league, between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. And of course, you thought for a fact that this game was going to live over to the hype. The Chiefs, of course, were coming into this game still undefeated. They did not lose at all. The Bills, of course, were 8-2. So, of course, it was about, can the Bills be able to snap this streak, or did the Chiefs keep on going with this streak, at least for a little while? To recap this game, the Bills got the first score of the game on a 3-yard run by James Cook. The Bills were up 6-0. The second quarter, Xavier Worthy, who had a really big game in this one, had a 10-yard touchdown pass from Mahomes, and the Chiefs take a 7-6 lead. However, the Bills get it back, specifically the answer. This is second touchdown run by James Cook. Tyler Bass kick, and it was 13-7. However, the Chiefs get it back, and they score to take the lead on another touchdown pass from Mahomes, his second touchdown pass of the game. And that was from Noah Gray, the tight end. So they take a 14-13 lead. However, the Bills get a big-time field goal by Tyler Bass as the first half expired, a 33-yard field goal. And the Bills are up 16-14 after the first half. No points were in the third quarter. And then the fourth quarter was when the fun happened, right at the end of crunch time, because, of course, why wouldn't it have nuts, right? And, of course, the Bills, about 12 minutes, 51 seconds. Curtis Samuel, who hasn't really been a big factor, I'd say, for the Bills so far this year, but Keon Coleman went down, so some other guys had to step up, and Samuel was one of them that happened from this past Sunday. And Samuel had a 12-yard touchdown pass from Allen, made it 23-14, so the Bills are up by 9 points. However, you knew for a fact the Chiefs weren't going to go down without a fight. Noah Gray gets another touchdown pass from Mahomes. Mahomes' third touchdown pass of the game. Gray's second touchdown catch of the game, and made it 23-21 in favor of the Bills. Now, it was 2 minutes and 17 seconds left. The Bills had a very, very gutsy play call. But they knew for a fact that, I think, if they were going to get the field goal at 5, they knew for a fact that it probably wasn't going to be enough to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So Sean McDermott and company, right? Joe Brady had a perfect play call for the Bills, and they decided to put on Superman Josh Allen and essentially ride his cape to the end zone on one of the best touchdown runs of the season by far, but who no other than the Buffalo quarterback. With 2:17, Josh Allen, 4th and 2, gets a 26-yard touchdown run, and that basically was all she wrote. It was 30-21. It was a 9-point game, so it was a 2-score game. The Chiefs got the ball back. They were able to start to drive down a little bit. Mahomes threw a pick, and that's pretty much it. So that was the final. The Chiefs got their first loss of the season. The Buffalo Bills got a big-time win at home. Biggest thing about these two teams is the Bills have had no problem beating the Chiefs at home or on the road during the regular season. It's all about the postseason, right? They just have not had the success in that case. So if it happens to be the same two teams, which it might as well be in the playoffs, now we have to see if the Bills can kind of overcome that issue that they've had and to kind of get over the hump and to do it in the playoffs against them. So we'll have to see, but big time win for the Bills against the Chiefs this past Sunday. All right. Really quickly, the Detroit Lions took on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we got to talk about the Jaguars, of course. This was on paper a game that, the Lions should have been able to win. Of course, the Jaguars just been having a really tough year. Trevor Lawrence is still hurt. The Jags are 2-9 now. The Lions are 9-1. The Lions are one of the best teams in football, just balanced top to bottom, offensively, defensively. And they had a really impressive win coming back against the Texans in Houston the week before. So, I do think for the Lions, though, this was just a game that they took no prisoners and basically told the Jaguars that you are not in the same league as we are for this year's season. Mac Jones gets the second start for the team, and when you look at this overall game, the Jags actually had the first score of the game. They had a 3-0 lead in the first quarter. However, the Lions came back. David Montgomery got a 2-yard touchdown run. This was Montgomery's first of 2 touchdown runs in the game. And then the second quarter, basically, it was all Lions. 3 touchdowns, including one by Gibbs, another one by Montgomery, another touchdown catch by St. Brown. That was his first of 2 on the night. And then Cam Little, a field goal from the Jags, and it was 28-6. And then the Lions kept on scoring touchdowns. Another one by Jameson Williams, a 5-yard pass by Goff. Goff had a total of 4 touchdown passes on the day. And then, of course, another one of St. Brown. A complete domination from the Detroit Lions over the Jacksonville Jaguars. The total yardage on the Lions to the Jags, 645 total yards from the Detroit Lions, 170 yards by the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, just complete domination left to right. I mean, I'm not surprised, but I didn't expect it to just be this complete domination. And the biggest question, of course, with the Jags just having a very tough season, underwhelming season, right? Last year they were one of the best first half teams out there, and they thought that, this year, they had some pieces, Brian Thomas Jr., and obviously they moved on from Calvin Ridley, but Brian Thomas, Gabe Davis. You thought that the Jaguars might be able to have a rebound in time of year. Unfortunately, it has not been. It just has not been the case, and they have to figure out what they want to do moving forward. And I think the biggest thing is they got to fire Doug Peterson. They got to start with new blood, and I think from a lot of the reports that I've been seeing, that's what it's going to seem like. But time will tell. So once again, Lions by the final of 52-6 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay. Moving on. And let's see what else we have here. All right. So our next topic from the NFL segment is basically what we're going to be looking forward to for Week 12. Week 12, it's crazy to think we're already there. I really wanted to quickly just get into some comments. Christy Wilson. Christy, hi. How's it going? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining, Christy. Really appreciate it. And then the Browns winning in the snow was crazy. Yeah, that was absolutely incredible. Of course, you'd love to have just a snow game, but just like a really good one. So it kind of just lived up to the hype, for sure. So really exciting stuff. So NFL Week 12 is coming up. I don't know if we're going to have our predictions for the overall games, but I will say that the games I'm looking forward to, of course, obviously you have in the primetime slot, you have a couple good ones. Actually, the primetime slots are going to be the best games actually from this weekend. You have the Arizona Cardinals against the Seahawks, right? The Cardinals are 6-4, the Seahawks are 5-5. So you have 2 NFC West division foes going at it. So I think that's going to be a really good game. The Niners and the Packers, right? It looked like there was some snow. Speaking of snow, at Lambeau Field, some pictures that happened today. So we might have a snow game over in Lambeau. This could be a very similar environment like the Niners and Packers had a couple years ago in the playoffs, where they had snow over there. But that should be another great game. You have Brock Purdy and Jordan Love, just 2 really good teams, LaFleur and Shanahan. So I know that game is really, really good. And the 1 o'clock slot, it's not really much. It's a lot of game. The Patriots and the Dolphins. Of course, you got 2 AFC East teams. You have the Lions, Colts, Bucks, Giants. The biggest mismatch of a game for the weekend is the Chiefs and Panthers. I don't think that game is going to be close. I just think that the Chiefs are just a different atmosphere than the Panthers are. I think that game just gives me a very similar Lions and Jaguars game. Just 2 teams, just completely opposite directions. Cowboys and Commanders. I don't think that game will be close. The Cowboys is absolutely garbage. I know that obviously Dak went down for the year, but even when Dak was playing, they were just not playing as a good team at all. Just a lot of situation going on with there in Dallas. So I said the Cardinals and Seahawks. the Niners and Packers. The Sunday night game is also pretty good. You got the Eagles and the Rams. The Eagles are going to be going to SoFi to take on the Rams. The Rams are 5-5. Rams have just been very up and down, but I do think that game could definitely be pretty high scoring. And then probably the most underrated game of the weekend that I think will live up to it, the Baltimore Ravens at 7-4 against the 7-3 LA Chargers at SoFi. And you got two really good quarterbacks playing at a really good level, right? High level, a good level, elite level, even if you want to go there. You have Harbaugh against Harbaugh. Yeah, it's the Harbaugh Bowl. I literally just thought of that. So it's going to just even live more up to the height on Monday Night Football. Ravens, Chargers. And heck, this could be a big game when it looks at like playoffs and stuff like that, right? So I'm really excited for that Monday night game, the Chargers and the Ravens. So yeah, I'm just really excited for some of these games coming in week 12, and we'll have to see how those games go. All right. Now I'll go into quickly some news from the NFL and the New York world. Of course, the New York Jets, because why not? The Jets have just been complete of a mystery all year, a shell of themselves all year, because there wouldn't be any chaos without the New York Jets basically in it. And this couple days ago, they decided, of course, they fired their head coach and Robert Saleh. A couple games into the season, after kind of a very lackluster start, they decided to bring in defensive-minded Jeff Ulbrich in and to see maybe if they could get a spark in there. Instead, as a defensive-minded guru, it's not gotten better for the defense. It's gotten worse. But obviously, Joe Douglas was really kind of under the hot seat as well, but I didn't expect it to happen that way. Just everything is just not going well with the Jets right now. They're coming off of a tough one against the Colts, a tough loss. A week before, they got their absolute doors blown off against the Cardinals. They do have a bye this week, and I know Davante Adams was saying on the Kay Adams show this week that he couldn't have been more excited for a bye. Aaron Rodgers has been saying some stuff on maybe how they can kind of get themselves back and turn the season around, but it's just more of complete the same crap. I mean, with the Jets, it comes down to their front office and making the right overall moves, and it's just complete. It's been underwhelming, to say the least. We finally have here my co-host here from the night, Isaiah Leon. Isaiah, thank you for joining me, my friend. It's been kind of a while since we've had our last show together. I know I was away for the weekend, this past weekend, and I know that you obviously have been fairly busy yourself as well, too, so hope you're doing well. Isaiah, I basically got through most of this NFL segment without you, my friend, but if you want to get into some stuff as well, by all means, I'll let you kind of do your thing. But I got into the New York Jets, of course, a team that we've talking so highly about kind of for a while now, and we just have to basically kind of say it, that the New York Jets are basically who they are as they have been all the last several years, and that's basically incompetency. They're the head coach, defensive-minded. You essentially look at this, Isaiah, that I don't think there's another type of team out there where you basically downgrade from all the elite talent that you bring in and basically keep the same exact record that you had with worse talent. And that's only but the New York Jets. And it's crazy to think, because even as a Patriot fan, of course, you were really spoken highly of them when they brought in Aaron Rodgers. Their window of winning was now, right? And instead, it's like Rodgers obviously is getting up there in age. I obviously understand that, but they brought in Davante Adams. They brought in everything that they can for them to be successful. But instead, everything specifically just completely turns into a mess. So they had to make something, and they had to fire someone. And they're basically starting the fire sale right now. And that's basically the precursor where Joe Douglas got fired this week. I'm curious in terms of how you feel about that. If you feel like if there's more to come for the Jets, and there's obviously been a lot of rumblings from the Athletic too about how this could be the last year of playing for the Jets for Aaron Rodgers. So there's, of course, a lot of stuff for the Jets, and none of it's good. So, my friend, how are you doing tonight? And if there's anything else you want to talk about really quick in the NFL segment, because I know we're going to be really excited to talk about the MLB and our prediction game later on the program.
Yeah, Ben. I mean, it's great to see you, man. Wow. Yeah, it's been been crazy out here. Like, I don't know about how it's been in the East Coast weather-wise, but weather-wise here in the Bay Area, it's been crazy. Like yesterday, we had howling winds. I lost my power for a little bit. Today it was raining on and off. It was very windy. So, and I think throughout the weekend, actually, it's supposed to be raining. It's supposed to be windy. So, it's kind of like a storm is hitting us right now. But, to all my friends that live in the Bay Area, make sure you guys stay safe, stay warm, because there's going to be, we do have a cold front. I think that's moving in here in the Bay Area. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the Jets, I mean, we talk about before last year, we kept talking about the Mets are going to Met and the Giants are going to Giant. That's what this is. I mean, the Jets are gonna jet, and that's what this is, plain and simple. The Jets always do stuff like this. It's literally like I think they're the most cursed franchise in the entire NFL, or maybe all of sports. Because when you look at the New York Jets, you bring in Aaron Rodgers, you bring in a future Hall of Fame quarterback with Garrett Wilson and with Breece Hall. You have a lot of young talent. The defense is great. Robert Saleh, one of the great defensive minds in the NFL. Great defensive mind. The Jets were one of the teams on the up and coming. And you bring in Aaron Rodgers, you were just missing the quarterback, and then it just so happens to be a Jets-like situation for Aaron Rodgers to go down 4 plays in last year to his Jets career. And then now you look at what happened, with this season. Aaron Rodgers is clearly not what he once was. That Achilles injury has clearly sapped a lot of his athleticism. There's a lot of times where he used to, like when pressure was coming, he would used to roll out and make those incredible plays throwing on the run. You rarely see those now. Like he just goes down for a sack. Last week against the Colts, the last play where he took a sack, it's like, dude, Aaron Rodgers, you've played in the NFL for like, 20-some years now, and you make a rookie mistake like that just by taking a sack when you know you could not take a sack whatsoever. It just seems like that Achilles injury really just sapped like all the greatness out of Aaron Rodgers, sadly. And I mean, it was supposed to work out, the Brady to the Bucks, that worked out. He won a Super Bowl. Montana to the Chiefs, he didn't win a Super Bowl, but he got them to the AFC Championship. You look at all these moves, like bringing in a veteran future Hall of Famer, great quarterback, even Peyton Manning to the Broncos, he won a Super Bowl with them. Like all these moves have worked out, and it's just only the Jets that it doesn't work out. And now I don't know what you're doing if you're the Jets, because Devontae Adams, you traded for him. He's disgruntled. Aaron Rodgers might not be back. You're going to have a new coach. You're going to have a new GM. And I'm not surprised that Joe Douglas got fired, because I thought this was coming, because when the owner goes behind the GM's back to fire the head coach, when Robert Saleh got fired, that's kind of very telling that he's not going to be back. And I just never thought that Joe Douglas was I don't think he really got along with the owner, Woody Johnson, because Woody Johnson didn't hire him when Joe Douglas got the job. Remember, it was his brother Christopher that hired Joe Douglas, because Woody Johnson was away. I think he was like an ambassador for the U.S. government to the UK or whatever. So that's why Woody wasn't there when Joe Douglas got hired. But you're going to have new head coach, new GM. Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if he's going to be there or not. Then you have Devontae Adams, Hassan Reddick's a free agent who you traded for this past off season. There's talks that Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall might be traded. I mean, this team was supposed to be like, it reminds me of the White Sox, Ben, where this White Sox team before had so much young talent. They were so up and coming. They were just missing that one piece, that leader, and they hired the wrong guy, Tony La Russa, and then everything goes to hell, basically. And then for the Jets, it's the same thing, where this young team, great defense, great young running back, great young wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. All you're missing is that quarterback, and you get him, but he tears his Achilles. He comes back a year later. He's not the same. And now coach gone, GM gone, and now the entire team. You don't have a draft pick because Devontae Adams, who you traded for, you traded your first round pick for him, I believe. All your picks are basically gone to other teams. So this is going to be like a slow rebuild for the Jets. I mean, it's just, basically, it's Jets gonna jet basically because I can't like they've just shown this is the most cursed franchise in the entire NFL because when they have something good and they're just missing a little piece, that piece comes in and poisons everything, and now the Jets most likely are gonna have to blow everything up again.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, even as a Patriot fan, like I thought that they would be at worst, a wild card team. I thought that everybody was like kind of talking before the season how they might be a division winner or even like up there, maybe like a team like the Dolphins or the Bills kind of regress, but instead, the Jets just completely just had a really tough year, and there's really nobody else to blame but themselves. And until Woody Johnson sells a team or he is out, I don't think, unfortunately for the Jets, that a lot of this is going to mean anything. Like you mentioned, Aaron Rodgers is getting, up there in age. Another thing that's really telling is he took a sack to finish the game the other week. I mean, that usually never happens with the quarterback of his caliber. Typically, like he'll extend the play, and a lot of Jet fans, I feel like too, are like starting to be like, I think enough's enough with him. So. Just really crazy stuff for the Jets. And the Jets are going to jet, I guess. So that's that. So
Ben, if I may, I do want to get one more NFL thing in before we get to the MLB stuff, and that is I want to talk about the Niners. I know it was one of the topics. I probably missed it, but
yeah, you did.
I think the Niners season is toast, sadly. When you look at this team, like we both have seen winning teams, like this team lacks juice, it lacks energy, and it just seems like they're dead. I mean, it just seems like everybody's given up. The offense this season has been very clunky. What I mean by that is we're great driving from our own 20-yard line to the opposing team's 40-yard line. But then when we get to the opposing team's 40-yard line, we always stall. That's what always happens. And then Purdy's been like up and down this season. You don't have Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. I'm sorry, but I got to say this. Deebo Samuel is washed. Like you watch him on the field, this dude cannot get any separation whatsoever. I forgot what cornerback he was going up against, but that cornerback wasn't that good for the Seahawks. Like he was a no-name guy, and Deebo Samuel could not get any separation whatsoever against that guy. Like I don't know, like he's lost his that. What's that?
Was it Witherspoon? Maybe was it a?
I don't know if it was Witherspoon. It might have been Witherspoon. Yeah, it might have been him, but or no, I think it was someone else because I think Witherspoon was guarding Pearsall. And then Deebo was on the other side getting matched up against the other corner. But Deebo Samuel lacked juice. He used to, when he would take those jet sweeps, like, I don't know if you remember, he would take those jet sweeps and he would be so hard to tackle. But right now, those jet sweeps are minus a yard or back to the line of scrimmage or 1 yard or 2 yard gains. And it's just minimal gains. And he just looks like he's lost his step, sadly. It looks like that the age has gotten to him and really has sapped his athleticism. And then when you look at the defense, I mean, when Geno Smith and the Seahawks got the football back with about, I think it was a minute, it was 2 minutes and 15 seconds left in the game, and they needed to drive down the field to score a touchdown and win the game. I basically conceded that it was over because I was like, big moments, the Niners just cannot get a stop. Every time we lose, it's the same thing. Big moments, we absolutely need to get a stop. We can't get any pressure on the quarterback. We cannot stop the run. And then our secondary just gets sliced and diced. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba was just, slicing and dicing us against our corners. Geno Smith, I mean, there was one play, and I won't forget this. There was a second to the last play before Geno ran it in for the touchdown where he's at, I think he's at the Seattle, or he's at the 49ers 48-yard line. and it's 2nd down and 5, and you really need to stop there. And the Niners have just come off, I think, it was 2nd and 5, and literally, like, Geno has like a wide open lane, but Leonard Floyd, he beats his man, and he's literally just standing there on the right side. He could move to a little bit and then tackle Geno, and Geno would either have no gain or a 1-yard gain, and it would be very minimal gain. And instead, he freezes like the Statue of Liberty. The guy literally just freezes there. He does nothing. Geno runs right by him, and he just runs for a 20-yard gain, and he goes from the 49ers, like, 48-yard line all the way down to the Seattle or to the 49ers 20 with about I would say about like 35 seconds left in the game. Like, and then that basically sealed the game because you had a 20-yard gain. Seahawks were in great position, and then they ended up next play later. Geno ran it in for a touchdown. But I mean, the Niners, like, that defense, they outside of Bosa, nobody can get any pressure. The secondary is very up and down. The linebackers are super lost. They can't stop the run in big moments when they need to. The offense is very, like, clunky. They can't run the ball right now. They can't block for the quarterback. And you know what's more troubling, Ben, is that Brock Purdy, I was hearing today on local radio that Brock Purdy might be out for that Green Bay game. Like, he was at practice today, and before, I think Shanahan said that Purdy had like a sore shoulder coming out of the game, but he said, he'll be fine. But Brock Purdy went through a little bit of Niners practice. He threw a couple warm-up balls, and he immediately left practice. So that's that's an extremely troubling sign. And if you look at our schedule moving forward, we have at Packers and at Bills. Those are going to be two massive games, especially the game this weekend against Green Bay, because if you lose this game to the Packers, you're trailing the Packers for the last wild card, I think, by 3 games right now. If you lose that game, you will be 4 games back. Or no, you will be 3. You're trailing them by 2 games right now for that last wild card. If you lose to the Packers in Lambeau this weekend, it's essentially going to be over for the Niners because you're going to be 3 games back for the wild card, and Green Bay's going to have the tiebreaker. So you're essentially going to be 4 games back with about 6 games left to play. Like, that's so hard to make up. And then you got, not to mention, after that, you got at Buffalo. Then you play the Bears, which should be an easy win. But then after that, you have the Rams, Detroit, and then you have the Rams, Detroit, at Miami, and then you have the Cardinals to end the season. Like, it's an extremely brutal schedule. And if you don't have Brock Purdy for the Green Bay game, when it's basically your season it's a do or die game for you, I'm sorry, but I think the Niners season is toast.
Well, I mean, you would just hope that, that injury, if Brock is not ready to go, that just doesn't linger on for the rest of the season. So, because I know obviously that game is critical, but, your best availability is your best availability. And, you just hope that it doesn't linger on for the rest of the season to have any effects on. So, we'll have to see what happens to the Niners here. But really quickly, and looks like we have Isaiah back on here. Isaiah, I really want to quickly get your overall thoughts on the New York Giants really quick. And I talked really quickly about the Jets. Of course, they're having some turmoil. The Giants, on the other hand, well, they're obviously having some stuff going on as well. Because Tommy DeVito, yes, you remember the name Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets? He is back, and he is going back to becoming the Giants starting quarterback. Tommy DeVito is one of my favorite players in the NFL because he was the reason why the New England Patriots drafted Drake May this past offseason. So I really want to congratulate Tommy DeVito for some of those meaningless wins at the end. Thank you, Tommy Collins. But yes, Tommy DeVito, all jokes aside, is going to be the starting quarterback the remainder of the season for the New York Giants. And Daniel Jones has been officially benched, but only been officially benched. He is now the 4th string quarterback on the depth chart for the Giants. And he essentially went on a podium today at practice. Basically, I kind of felt bad in a sense of he was basically apologizing, saying he wasn't getting the job done. He wanted to thank all. It was almost like kind of a apology letter, but also basically I'm ready to move on statement at the exact same time. And I'm just well, part of me is just yeah, I just don't know if the Giants just trust this man moving forward, like what happens there? Of course, your buddy Drew Lock, you were basically calling for the front that Drew Lock was going to be starting at some point. Maybe your wish comes true with the Giants basically being out of it. But yeah, what do you think about this? Do you feel like now that this is basically the final straw for Daniel Jones's tenure with the Giants?
Yeah, Daniel Jones is done in New York. And when I think about it, I'm not really surprised because he was a below average quarterback before he had that run with the Giants and Brian Dable's first year, and then ever since then, and like ever since he got the contract and had that magical year, he's just been going down. And now when you look back at that magical season, you kind of realize that it wasn't him that was really like the main catalyst as why the Giants were so good that year. It was because of Saquon Barkley and him running the football, him creating putting all the pressure on the defense stacking the box, and then Daniel Jones having free passing lanes to throw the football. And then now with Saquon not there, the Giants have just been horrific. And, I think that for the Giants, they're definitely going to need a new quarterback. They need a guy like Daniel Jones kind of looked like Sam Darnold when he was with the Jets, where he just looked like he's not confident. He looks like a guy that is, kind of seeing ghost out there. That's kind of like, hesitant to pull the trigger on throwing the football because he's scared it's going to get intercepted. So I think it's time to move on. And I think that for the Giants, either you need to go and draft maybe like a Shedeur Sanders or like a Cam Ward or someone like that. Or, this might be interesting. And I heard this gotten thrown out there in the last few days. How about Trevor Lawrence? Like if Jacksonville moves on from him, which I don't know if they will, but if they do, I wouldn't mind it because Trevor Lawrence has shown that he has a lot of talent. I just think he's getting screwed by the coaching there in Jacksonville, and the offensive line is not good. I know the Giants don't have the best offensive line, but I think Trevor Lawrence could be like, a Ryan Tannehill 2.0 who just needs like a change of scenery to resurrect his career. So that's what I would do if I'm the Giants. In terms of like Tommy DeVito starting, I think Drew Lock got hosed, man. I think he got hosed. I don't understand the Giants thinking. Like, you literally paid Drew Lock $5 million. You made all these like promises to him saying like, hey, yeah, you're going to be able to battle Daniel Jones for the starting quarterback spot. Like, you're going to have a chance to compete, even if you're the backup, like, Danny Dimes might be benched mid-season and you can be the backup and all this type of stuff. Like, Drew Lock was one of like the one of the more highly prized free agents out there this offseason in terms of quarterbacks, because there wasn't really that much like that good options out there. And you bring him to New York, you pay him $5 million just to sit on the bench. Like, I don't know. Like, it just doesn't make any sense for me, like what the Giants are doing. Like, I understand DeVito is like decent, but I would have liked to see what Drew Lock could do with Brian Dable in that offense, because he's got a cannon of an arm and he can make plays with his legs. But yeah, I don't agree with the Giants' decision to go with DeVito over Lock.
Yeah, really quick, because I think we're both kind of under the assumption that Daniel Jones' time and the Giants would be done. But I also don't think that his time playing is going to be done. I do feel like that there could be some teams that could be looking at him for his services, whether it's a starting role or for a backup role. So if you had to put a crystal ball to yourself right now and maybe think of potentially some teams for Daniel Jones, despite the contract that they're giving him right now, what could be potentially some teams that could be looking at Daniel Jones?
Wow, that's a tough question. I wouldn't rule out Minnesota as like a backup for JJ McCarthy. Yeah, because he's got a knee injury. I think he had another surgery, so I don't know how that recovery is going to be. And Daniel Jones, even though he's not great, he would be like a known commodity for the Vikings, just in case JJ McCarthy were to suffer like a setback. Mm-hmm. I think other options, like I would say maybe the Bears, because you need that veteran to back up Caleb just in case Caleb struggles. Yep. And then I think in terms of another one,
I got a couple actually.
I wouldn't rule out the Niners just because it seems like he's like that type of like Sam Darnold type of quarterback where he just needs to change the scenery. And I think he could fit. I mean, he did well, remember, in Dable's first year with a competent offense. And Dable kind of runs similar to a Shanahan style scheme. So it maybe could work out like as a backup because if you look at the Niners quarterbacks moving forward, besides Purdy, it's Joshua Dobbs is going to be a free agent. And then Brandon Allen, I think, is going to be a free agent as well. And speaking of Brandon Allen, I know we talked about Purdy's like being hurt and him potentially missing that game against Green Bay. Please, for the love of God, I don't want to see Brandon Allen against Green Bay. With the season, think about this season on the line, and here comes Brandon Allen trotting out versus the Packers. Oh my God. Oh God.
Yeah, we'll have to see, man. For me, I have a couple places. Hear me out on this one. The Tennessee Titans, I think, could be an interesting spot because I'm kind of looking at different quarterback rooms for some teams and, some teams that have, decent options, but they're not definitive as starting. And the Titans have one of them. Will Levis is the starter, but he has been absolutely atrocious for them all year. And their backup is Mason Rudolph. I think that you could put a guy like Daniel Jones in to a quarterback room like that, which is very mediocre quarterback play, and maybe give this guy a chance to potentially start again, or maybe at least a backup role to kind of get his mind right. Maybe Pittsburgh, right? Because I don't know if both Fields and Wilson are only under contract for a year, but say one of them moves on. Maybe you have Daniel Jones as the backup, and say somebody goes down, you have him to replace. Maybe the Raiders, right? Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell. I feel like that maybe he can kind of come in and be a potential guy like there as well, too. Maybe the New York Jets. Don't rule it out if Aaron Rodgers goes somewhere else. Like Jets, they have Tyrod Taylor, but, I think that's more of an unrealistic one, but never say never on that. So I feel like Daniel Jones, I know, of course, there'll be a crap in him, this and that, but I feel like he's going to find somewhere, and it's just all about finding the right fit. I think he's more of a backup than a starter at the end of the day, but I do think that he's going to be able to find a team despite the big contract that he has. So that's basically the stuff from the Giants front. But now here comes the fun part of the night, and that is going to be our segment that we have done for the last couple of years, and that is the MLB Free Agent Predictor Game. Isaiah, I hope that you have some of your guys ready to go with some of the predictions. So actually, I'll take it to you to start, my friend, if you want to host this part of the program, because I know you came on late, but let's talk some baseball, shall we?
Yeah, man, it's going to be fun. I mean, the hot stove is already slowly starting to heat up. So, man, it's going to be a crazy off season. And I mean, we're just at the start of it. The winter meetings, I think, is in a couple of weeks. So, we got
2 weeks, I think. Well,
yeah, I think we got Thanksgiving, and then after Thanksgiving next week, I think we have the winter meetings after that. So buckle up, folks. Get your popcorn ready. It's gonna be like a wild couple of weeks in baseball, and it's gonna be fun.
Can't wait. I don't know what happened here, right? Hopefully we didn't lose Isaiah, but if we did, I'll continue. Yes.
You guys have me?
Yep, I still have you. I'll listen to you.
Okay. So yeah, we got a group list of free agents that we've compiled, and we'll go through them. Me and Ben are gonna give our take on where these guys are gonna go, and yeah, it's gonna be fun. Can't wait for it. Let's start with number one, and I'm pretty sure all you guys know who number one is. He is the unanimous number one free agent on the board. He's the guy that everybody is waiting for, just like Shohei Ohtani last year, and that is Juan Soto. And Ben, for me, I tried to put him in different places. I really did, but I got Juan Soto. I'm going to go with the boring route. I got Juan Soto returning to the Yankees. I just cannot see him leaving the Bronx. I can't see him leaving the Yankees pinstripes. Like Aaron Judge, remember, he almost left the Yankees, but Hal Steinbrenner gave him a call and was like, hey, do you really want to leave? And they ironed it out all over the phone. I think it's going to be something like that where it takes Hal Steinbrenner personal phone call, irons it out over the phone. Give me Juan Soto to the Yankees. And I think he's going to get like a 13-year, like $650 million like type of a deal.
Yeah, for me, Isaiah, and I know we're kind of starting boring here. I wish I was going to go different route, but I will say this: that Juan Soto currently right now is spoken to around 4 to 5 teams, including my Boston Red Sox. Yes, I'm not getting my hopes up whatsoever, but it's really cool and promising to see that my team is currently meeting with them and trying to make a massive push, which would have thought a very unrealistic reality to potential reality from one season to another. But at the end of the day, I truly think that he's going to stay in the New York market. I know that Steve Cohen obviously has the money, but I think he's going to stay with the Yankees around like a $13,650 million deal. I think that Hal is going to convince him just enough to outbid the Mets by just a smidge. And I think that Soto is going to go back and be with the Bronx Bombers. I just feel like that fit there this past year. He put on one of the best in-season performances he ever has been. Aaron Judge, who, by the way, won AL MVP, congrats to him. Pretty much the whole entire interview was talking about Juan Soto in it. So I think that Aaron Judge wants him to stay. Everybody in the Yankees organization wants to. And I think that at the end of the day, he's going to become a long-term Yankee.
All right, so me and Ben both have Juan Soto staying in the Bronx with the New York Yankees. Let's move on to our next free agent, and that is Blake Snell, left-hand pitcher. This year was with the Giants. He started off slow, but was really hot down the stretch, pitched a no-hitter in Cincinnati against the Reds. Ben, I think you might like this one.
Okay.
For Blake Snell, I don't think he's going to return to the Giants. He's not going to return to the Giants. There's a rumor that he's meeting with the Dodgers. I don't think he's going to go to the Dodgers, even though I could see the fit with the Dodgers because they need pitching, and him and Andrew Friedman with the Rays. I think Blake Snell goes to the Texas Rangers. They need pitching. Evaldi's a free agent. Scherzer's a free agent. You can't count on DeGrom's health. You need proven veteran pitching there. And I think the Rangers are embarrassed after what happened last year. When they had that hangover season, they want to make a push for the postseason, especially with the AL West being weak. They need to start in the rotation. You can't count on a guy like Jack Leiter, sadly, or Rock Kumar, or some of the young guys. You need some veterans in that rotation to help supplement that young duo that you have. So give me Blake Snell to Texas. I think it makes a lot of sense. Lefty with DeGrom, I think that makes a lot of sense as well. So I got Blake Snell going to Texas. How about you?
Okay, that's the first one. I haven't seen a lot of that in the offseason from people, but I like that. For me, I got the Baltimore Orioles getting Blake Snell. The Orioles, I think, really need some help at the front end. I have Corbin Burns going somewhere else, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But I do think that Blake Snell, he's a workhorse. He's going to give you not all, obviously, the innings, but just the stuff is absolutely electric. He's been absolutely incredible the last 2 seasons with the Giants and the Padres. The second half splits have been absolutely phenomenal. And remember, Blake Snell was one of the Boris clients that missed a little bit of spring training last year, and he had a really tough first half. The second half, he was one of the best pitchers in the game, including a no-hitter. Blake Snell is an absolute gamer. I would love to see the Red Sox get him, but I do think that he's going to stay in division and go to Baltimore to join the Orioles.
All right, that's a great pick. I like that pick with the Orioles. They need a lot of pitching as well. Speaking of a guy that was with the Baltimore Orioles, before we go to him, let's go to Alex Bregman, the longtime Houston Astros third baseman. He's been one of the best third basemen in the American League and all of baseball for many, many years. He's a guy that's really, really clutch come postseason time. Ben, I'll go to you first for Alex Bregman. Where do you think Alex Bregman ends up this offseason?
Isaiah, the Alex Bregman in Houston era is officially done. I have Alex Bregman going to the Detroit Tigers to team up with his old manager, AJ Hinch. You saw what the Tigers did in that second half, getting themselves to a playoff postseason push. He saw specifically what happened against the Tigers this past thing in the postseason, and saw what they were able to do. I got Alex Bregman going to the Tigers. They can get some offensive punch there, and I think he can play the hot corner there well. So give me Bregman to the Tigers.
I like that pick actually, because reuniting with AJ Hinch, Detroit, they need a third baseman. Jace Jung is very young, so I don't know if you can count on him to be that everyday third baseman. So that does make a lot of sense. But for me, Ben, I do agree with you. The Alex Bregman era in Houston is over. He's going to be moving on, and he's going to be moving on in my predictions to another league. He's going to be in the National League, and get ready for this. Alex Bregman is going to be a Philadelphia Philly. He's going to be a Philly. They're going to trade Alec Boehm. There's already a lot of rumors that, they're shopping Boehm. This screams Alex Bregman to the Philadelphia Phillies. They want him. He's more athletic than Boehm. He's a better defender than Boehm. He's more clutch in the postseason. That just really solves a lot of the Phillies' problems come October. And that's what the Phillies' problems have been in October. When their bats just go cold and they don't have a guy who's clutch. They don't, the defense is very shoddy come October. So Alex Bregman, I think he solves a lot of the Phil's issues, and he gets them more athletic with in that infield. I mean, imagine an infield with Bregman at third, with Turner at short, Stott at second, and then you have Harper at first. I think that's a way better infield defensively than when you have Alec Boehm rounding out that infield.
No, absolutely. I actually love that fit. Dombrowski is going to be aggressive. I think that he is going to try to look at Soto and some other guys, but I do think that Bregman to the Phillies would be a really cool fit there. All right, so I will kind of go through the list of some guys. I'll let Isaiah, you take a break from some guys, and I will go into continue list here. So Corbin Burnes is the next one out here on the list. Now, Burnes, of course, he was with the Orioles for the first time. On the AL side, of course, the long-term stint with the Brewers, but the Brewers traded him over to the Baltimore Orioles. Became their ace there this past year, was absolutely phenomenal. But I do think that the Corbin Burnes era in Baltimore is short-lived. The Orioles ownership never typically spends long-term money, and I got Corbin Burnes, Isaiah, going to the New York Mets. The Mets, essentially, you have an ace on the top with Kodai Senga. I think that the Mets are going to miss out on Juan Soto. So I think that Steve Cohen is basically going to look at the starting pitching front because they need some top-end pitching. And I think Corbin Burnes is the guy. I think that they outbid the Baltimore Orioles. So I got Blake Snell going into Baltimore, and I have Corbin Burnes leaving. And I have Corbin Burnes going to the New York Mets.
You know what? I actually agree with you. I got him going to the Mets as well because of the David Stearns connection with him and David Stearns from their days with Milwaukee. The Mets need starting pitching. David Stearns knows Corbin Burnes in and out from his days in Milwaukee. It just makes perfect sense for Corbin Burnes and the Mets. And Steve Cohen is going to spend because this Mets team, they made the NLCS last year. They were close to going to the World Series. This team has a shot with some additions this offseason to make a push for the World Series. So I do agree. I think Burnes to the Mets makes a lot of sense.
All right, the next one we have is Roki Sasaki. Now, Roki, of course, is a guy that just got posted to the MLB, right? So he's going to be able to sign at any points. Of course, he is basically this year's Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I think we basically know where this is going, right? If you have basically somewhere else. And for me, I got Roki Sasaki becoming a Los Angeles Dodger. I think that pretty much that is my overall guess. I don't think the Dodgers are going to go for the other big fishes. I'm going to basically predict where Max Fried and Jack Flaherty are going to be going, but I don't have them going to the Dodgers. So I have Roki Sasaki joining Ohtani, Yamamoto, and basically making a massive evil empire over there in LA. So what about you?
Quick note about Roki Sasaki. So he's actually more like Shohei when he came into the big leagues, where he cannot get a contract bigger than I think like a minor league deal. So it's going to be an absolute steal because I think he's like only 23 right now, so he doesn't qualify to get like a $300 million plus deal. So think about this. Imagine Shohei and Sasaki making the bare minimum. I mean, that would be insanity. But Ben, I thought Dodgers, but when I heard more about like the Sasaki rumors, it seems like Sasaki wants to forge his own path. Like, I don't know. From what I've been reading recently, like, first of all, it was the agent saying like there's no deal with the Dodgers. Then other people were saying that Sasaki wants to maybe like get out of the shadows of a Shohei and a Yamamoto and try to forge his own path and be an ace. So for me, I don't got him going to the Dodgers. I think he's gonna forge his own path. I think he's gonna like try to go somewhere else, and try to be that big ace and that big name in that rotation. I got Roki Sasaki going to the Giants. I think, I think that like all the reports recently have kind of like shuttered down a lot of this Dodger stuff recently. The stuff about him wanting to forge his own path, like that's kind of interesting because now like, okay, he might not want to follow Shohei, he might not want to follow Yamamoto, and if that's the case, then the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes definitely gets a lot more interesting. If he really wants to go somewhere where he wants to be the man in the town, then that opens it up. I mean, potentially the Yankees could get involved, the Rangers could get involved, the Phillies could get involved, like other teams, the Mets, Red Sox maybe have a chance now, if that's the case. And I mean, you look at the Giants, they're going to want to spend this offseason. They want to get some big names. I think they're going to miss out on a lot of those big names. But I mean, Sasaki, they need some help in the rotation because I have Blake Snell leaving. So I got Sasaki going to the Giants to be that ace in the rotation.
All right, my last one I'll name before I get it back to you, Isaiah, is Anthony Santander. Now, this is actually a very interesting, one of my most underrated guys in this year's class. Now, Santander, of course, is a guy that's very up and down. His defense is very subpar. He has a decent arm, but the one thing I really like about Santander is he's going to give you the results from the bat. And on both sides, too. It's really hard to find guys now in this day and age where they're both good offensively from the left side and from the right side. And for me, Isaiah, I have an interesting fit for Anthony Santander. I got him going to the Kansas City Royals. I think that the Royals need some offensive punch, and I think that he could play. The Royals, I feel like they need a hot corner in their outfield, and I think that Santander will be able to play that in the outfield and give the Royals some offensive punch because I feel like that has been missed badly from that team. So give me Santander over to Kansas City.
I like that. I like that fit. This was a tough one because he's kind of being overshadowed by a lot of those big name free agents out there. So whoever gets him, I think will get a really, really good player, and a very underrated player as well, because he was in Baltimore for his entirety of his career. So he was kind of overshadowed. Ben, for me, I got him going to the Atlanta Braves. Ronald Acuna, he's got that massive knee injury. Who knows how he's going to be. I know the Braves, they picked up Jared Kelenic last offseason, but he had a really hot start and then he tapered off. So I could see the Braves bringing him in just kind of like as a bat to shore up that lineup and also shore up that outfield as well, because that outfield, there's a lot of question marks for Atlanta in that outfield.
All right. Well, that's a very interesting fit. I really have thought that one, but I kind of can see it. All right, Isaiah, I'll let you go back to you, my friend.
All right, let's go to Pete Alonso. Longtime Met. He's been the staple of the Mets. He's a guy that is a very powerful first baseman. You saw what impact he had in the playoffs this past season. Ben, I'll go to you first. Where do you think Pete Alonso stays in New York, or do you think he goes somewhere else?
I have him staying with the Mets. I think that when you're going to miss on Juan Soto, I think that Steve Cohen basically will have different ways to be flexible, and I think that one of them is going to be able to keep one of their cornerstone players, for the long foreseeable future. I think that there are going to be some teams that on Alonso, but I think the one thing about Alonso that people are going to be backing out of is he's getting up there in age, right? And he didn't have the best overall regular season stats last year, which I feel like for teams they don't want to overpay for a guy like him. And I think that for the Mets are actually going to get a decent steal out of this. I think I got him going there for around 5-6 years at max, and they'll basically give him a pretty good AAV. So I have Alonso staying with the Mets.
Yeah, me too. I think this is a no-brainer because they're missing out on Soto. They need, the guy that they, have grown from their farm system. They have to keep him. It's a no-brainer. He's a big part of their lineup, and David Stearns cannot let Pete Alonso go somewhere else so they lose out on Juan Soto. He absolutely cannot let him go elsewhere. So I got him staying with the Mets. I think the Mets will do everything that they can for Pete Alonso to stay in New York. Let's move to the next free agent. This one's interesting. Max Fried. Max Fried, very, very dominant the last couple of years. This year he was all right, but Max Fried is very, very interesting. Ben, for me, I got him going to the Dodgers. I think that they need help in the rotation. So Ohtani's gonna be back in the rotation next year, but can you really count on him because he's had 2 Tommy Johns, so we don't know how he's going to be. Tyler Glass now, he's got shoulder arm problems, so he's a big question mark. Kershaw is a big question mark. They've got question marks throughout the entire rotation. Walker Buehler is a free agent as well, so I got Max Fried going to the Dodgers. I think that the Dodgers, they need a lot of starting pitching help this offseason, and I think that he's one of the guys. He's very dependable as well, so he's a guy that they go in, they get him, they plug him into the starting rotation. He doesn't have to be a 1, but he's a very, very quality 2 or a 3 as well.
So for me, Isaiah, I have him going my Red Sox. I feel like the Red Sox need a massive splash, and I think this is going to be the splash that they get. Max Fried is going to become a Red Sox and become the new ace of this team, a Bulldog, and basically give me the John Lester vibes of old. Where basically you can trust this guy every 5th day. And another underrated thing too, is Lucas Giolito has been very close with Max Fried in the past too. So I feel like that relationship is obviously critical in this too. So I feel like this could be a no-brainer. I think that Fried and Boston be a really good fit. He keeps the ball on the ground, and he's a really good guy at the innings too. So I got Max Fried going to my Red Sox.
All right. Next free agent is one of our guys, Laurel Antonio's favorites, and that is Willy Adames. I know Laurel's had him pegged to the Dodgers for many, many months. Does Laurel get his wish or no, Ben? Or does Adames go somewhere else?
Unfortunately, Laura, if you're listening, I'm sorry, my friend. I have him going somewhere else. This move is a no-brainer, at least to me, in terms of the fit. I got Willy Adames going to the Atlanta Braves to become in the middle of their infield. The Braves really need some infield help massively, at least up the middle. Orlando Arcia has not been a great offensive player production-wise. So I think that you put Albies to second base, you have Adames at shortstop or other way around, and I feel like that could be a really fun second base, shortstop, and it could just give the Braves some punch in the middle of their lineup too. I feel like at times the Braves really rely too top heavy, and you can put Adames kind of in that middle and really kind of balance out that lineup. So I got Willy Adames going to the Braves.
For me, I like the Braves pick. I think I could see that very logical, and I think that pick does make a lot of sense. In terms of Adames, ooh, that's tough. I got a very sneaky pick actually for Willy Adames. I got him going to the Houston Astros. I think Jeremy Pena has been kind of underwhelming ever since the World Series a couple of years ago. Adames is a big bat who's also gives you quality defense at shortstop. And with the Astros, I got them losing Bregman. You got them losing Bregman as well. They need to do something to shore up that infield outside of Altuve. So I got them going to get Adames. I don't think he's going to go to the Dodgers, Loro, unfortunately, but I think he goes to the Astros. The Astros know, like, if the Rangers are going to do something, we got to counter, because that division, I think, is going to be Texas. I think it's going to be and Houston. I don't know about Seattle, but I think Texas and Houston are going to battle it out, and it's going to be like a Cold War. So give me Adames to the Houston Astros on like a 5 or 6 year deal.
All right, I'll go to me now. And there's one name that we forgot to put in here. There's actually going to be a couple that will kind of go out, but I did want to get to one of them that's kind of the remainder on the starting pitching side, and that is Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty is one guy we did not put on the list here, so I will start with him before I get into the next guy. So for you, Isaiah, I'll go to you first. Where do you have Jack Flaherty going to?
I think he goes back to the Dodgers. I think it makes a lot of sense because he's from LA. He grew up a Dodgers fan. His value, like, I feel like was shot in the postseason because he was kind of like, up and down. So I think he goes back to the Dodgers on like a 2 or 3 year like deal that is pretty cheap. I don't think the Dodgers need a lot of starting pitching with a lot of the question marks in that rotation. So a reunion between Flaherty and the Dodgers, that just makes too much sense for it not to happen.
For me, I actually have a very interesting one. I got him going to the Los Angeles Angels. I have him stay on the West Coast, but I feel like the Angels need some top of the end pitching, and Flaherty is basically going to be getting paid as a number one over at the Angels, basically for what the value is. So I think that there's going to be an overpay by a team, and that's the team I have him going to, is the Los Angeles Angels. He's a West Coast guy, and I think that he could kind of be the main guy there compared to what he was last year with the Dodgers. So I have him staying in LA, but with the other side of town. All right, so next one is Teoscar Hernandez. This is one that I think is going to be the most interesting one, I think, of the whole entire offseason. Teoscar just brings everything, the energy, the excitement, just from a player standpoint. He just gives everything. He could hit for power to all fields and just could be an instant fit. For me, I have him going to the Boston Red Sox. I think that that the Red Sox really need some balance from the right-handed standpoint. Teoscar has basically spoken very highly of the Red Sox in the last couple of years. I feel like the Red Sox, besides Max Fried, I have the Red Sox making their next move, and they have him getting Teoscar Hernandez to help balance out their lineup as the ownership has been talking about this offseason. So I know they're going to really strike out on a guy like Juan, which of course I'm not expecting to, but I do think they're going to get impacted bat. This is the impacted bat that I have. It just makes too much sense for it potentially not to happen. So Teoscar, you're coming to Boston, my friend.
I agree with you. He's gonna go to Boston.
Okay.
I just think like you said, I think the Red Sox are gonna spend. I don't know how much they're gonna spend this offseason, but Teoscar Hernandez, they've seen him from his days with the Toronto Blue Jays. He is a really powerful offensive force. And he will add that to the Red Sox. And when you look at the Red Sox, like you mentioned, he'll bring that balance, lefty, righty. So that makes too much sense for not to happen. So I think he's bound for Boston.
Okay. Next one is going to be an interesting one as well. That's Christian Walker. Walker, of course, is a guy, first baseman. He's basically the second best first baseman in the free agency class, right behind Pete Alonso. And for me, and before I get it back to you for your list, I got Christian Walker going to the Houston Astros. The Astros really need some help at the first base. And I think that, Christian Walker's swing is just made for the short porch over the Crawford boxes. And I just think that he can give that more of that lineup a punch. I think that, if you lose Bregman, I think that he can come in and kind of help give some of that production back. So I got Christian Walker becoming a Houston Astro.
I got Christian Walker going to the New York Yankees. Okay. The Yankees lineup, we saw in the World Series, like they're really strikeout heavy. I think they might lose Gleyber Torres. We shall see, but that first base, Anthony Rizzo is he was a really good first baseman for them, but I just think he's past his prime. And I think Christian Walker is a guy that shows Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, hey, we got you guys and we're going all in. to try to win it because our window was just a couple of years. So I think Walker to the Yankees makes a lot of sense. Right-handed hitter. I know you have Judge there, you have Soto there as well. But the Yankees, just for some reason, they like the righties. I don't know why Brian Cashman likes the righties, even though that park is very, very perfect for lefties. But Walker would be a great upgrade for the Yankees at first base.
Okay. I'll take it to you for the remainder of the list that you have before I get into potentially some extra ones that we might have that we did not put on the list.
All right, so let's get into this. This is very interesting. Ha-Seong Kim. He was injured for majority of the year, but when he's healthy, he's a very, very solid offensive piece and also glove at shortstop. Ben, I don't know. You probably will agree with me on this, but I got him going to the Giants. The connections just make too much sense. Him and Jung-Ho Lee, they're practically family. I think that Ha-Seong Kim's sister is married to Jung-Ho Lee's brother or something like that. And they're both from South Korea. Both have played for manager Bob Melvin. I think that's a perfect reunion. Giants need a shortstop. They need to shore up that middle of the infield with Matt Chapman there. Ha-Seong Kim is a very, very good glove. He's a very sneaky hitter. So I got him going to the Giants. I think he gets like a 2-year deal because I think like the injuries are going to, it's going to kind of prevent him from getting a longer deal. But 2-year deal, opt out after year 1 to the Giants for Ha-Seong Kim for me. But how about you?
Yeah, I got the same. I got him more than Giants. I feel like it's just, he wants to stay in the West Coast. He obviously has that John Ho Lee connection. I just feel like there's just some guys in this list that you just kind of know that the fit just kind of fits too much. This is a name that I feel like fits too much. The Giants really need some infield help too. This makes all the sense in the world. That I think Ha-Seong Kim, if he goes out to the market, he's going to go to the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a perfect fit. Tanner Scott, top reliever on this market. He was with the Padres last half of last year. This is interesting because the bullpens. I mean, it's big in baseball, but I don't know. Like this year, it's kind of weird because there's not a lot of teams that need bullpen help. I think he's going to get a big contract, however. So for Tanner Scott, I got him going to the Phillies. I think that's a spot that makes a lot of sense because the Phillies need that like shutdown closer in the 9th inning. They tried Alvarado, that didn't work out. Estevez, sadly, that didn't work out. Tanner Scott, I know the Phillies were in on him. Lefty pitcher that's very, very dominant from the left side. Give me Scott to the Phillies. I think that makes too much sense. And Dave Dombrowski, he's gonna go for the big name, and Scott is the biggest name in the reliever department. And the Phillies saw a lot of Scott when he was with the Marlins last season and the year before.
I got Tanner Scott. Hear me out on this one. I have him going to the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs need some back end help. They're not only going to spend a lot for the position help, but I do think that they're going to help with their bullpen. And I think that Tanner Scott can really help in that back end. I personally think that he could be their closer as well, too. So something tells me him with the Cubs.
Hey, I could see that. I mean, the Cubs, they need bullpen help. He's one of the best arms available in the bullpen this offseason. So that definitely makes a lot of sense. How about Clay Holmes? This is interesting because Clay Holmes was the closer of the Yankees, lost his job, and then bounced back in the World Series. Didn't get the closer's job back, but he still bounced back. Ben, I'll go to you first on this. Where do you got Clay Holmes? This is an interesting case.
I got Clay Holmes going to the Minnesota Twins and being the setup man to Joan Duran. I think that Clay Holmes is just more made to be a setup man. We pretty much have seen it. He could be a closer time to time, but if you bank on him to be a long-term closer, I just think they're basically playing with too much fire. His command is very up and down. I think that if you basically put him in a different situation there, I think Minnesota's a really good fit. And plus, too, I think that, in a smaller market, he could be a setup man to one of the best closers in baseball. I think that fit makes too much sense.
You ready for this, my friend?
Okay.
This is going to be a bold one. It might be one that's coming out of left field. I got Clay Helms going to the Las Vegas Athletics or the Sacramento Athletics to be the setup man for Mason Miller because I think the A's they were not bad last season. I know record, doesn't like record says something completely different, but the A's were in a lot of the games last season, and it seems like they found that young core that can help them, moving forward. And I don't know if Clay Holmes is going to get more than a 1 or 2 year deal just based on how last season went. And I think the A's are going to want to spend some money just to, try to get some fans to come in to the games next season in Sacramento. So Miller and Holmes in the bullpen, closer and setup man. And I think that Holmes gets traded mid-season. I think he's a perfect fit to be traded by the Athletics, in the offseason. What do you think about that?
It's interesting, man. I do like it. All right, so I got 3 more names to add to the list here. We're going to start with Gleyber Torres. Gleyber Torres is a free agent. For me, Isaiah, I think that the time with the New York Yankees is over, and I have him going to Seattle Mariners. I feel like this rumor and this team has been out there for a while. The Mariners have been really lacking infield help and infield production. I have him leaving the Yankees to go to Seattle.
That does make sense because they do need a second baseman. Gleyber is another interesting one because, he doesn't hit for average, but he's clutch in the postseason. He's he's a very good, powerful hitter. But the only problem is he also is not that good defensively at second base, like we saw in the World Series. So, this is a tough one, but for Gleyber, oh man, Gleyber. I think his time with the Yankees is over. I think he's gonna have to find some type of short-term deal. Just because I don't know if he'll get that much interest on the market. I'm gonna go with the Cincinnati Reds. I think that he bounces back there like a 1-year deal. With the Reds and him, Ellie De La Cruz, they add some punch to that lineup. The Reds are going to try to go for it, not for the World Series, but for a playoff spot with your guy, Terry Francona, now at the helm in Cincinnati. So I got Gleyber going to the Red.
Next one, Sean Manaea, Southpaw from the New York Yankees. Of course, now Sean he obviously had a really good season with the Mets. Really was basically their ace in the playoffs. For me, Isaiah, I actually have him going to Texas Rangers. I think that I know they obviously have Andrew Heaney, but I feel like the Rangers really need some help, at least from their left-hand side pitching. You have him with DeGrom and a couple other guys in there. I think Manaea would be a really good fit for the Texas Rangers.
I could see that. I could see Manaea being a good fit there. And the Rangers need pitching. That's not a well-kept secret. So I could definitely see that. For me, for Manaea, I think he goes back to the Mets. I think that just makes too much sense. He loved pitching at Citi Field. He loved pitching in New York. He really turned around his career last season with the New York Mets, and he thrived there. So I got him going back there. 2-year deal for me for Sean Manaea.
Okay. All right. Another guy with him was Luis Severino. He will also be a free agent. For me, I have Luis Severino going to the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers need some help in the pitching side. You could put him right behind Tarek Skubal. I think that he maybe could be their number 2. Number 3 definitely at worst. But I think Severino takes about a 1-year prove-it deal. Maybe it gets a little bit of an extension there. Maybe a 2-year deal, maybe a max. But I got Luis Severino heading over to Detroit.
I got him going to the Miami Marlins. You might laugh at that, but the thing with the Marlins is look, they have a lot of injuries in that starting rotation. A lot of their young kids are out and hurt, so they need some veterans to hold it down, and they need some trade pieces who they can trade at the trading deadline. So I think it makes a lot of sense. He's from the Dominican Republic, that's close to Miami. They have a big fan base there in Miami. So with the Latin players. So 1 year deal, maybe a little bit slight bump in salary, and then I think he gets traded at the deadline.
You want to keep going? I got a couple more for you. Nathan Eovaldi.
Yes.
Nathan Eovaldi will be out there in the market. And for me, I got Nathan Eovaldi going to the Atlanta Braves. I think that he's going to be in the mid part of the rotation. You have Chris Sale, of course. I feel like Eovaldi's had some injuries, just like Sale. Sale obviously just got the NL Cy Young. Congrats to him. Eovaldi, kind of similar situation. You can kind of be right there in the middle of that rotation, still in a contending team. Eovaldi, you're going to be an Atlanta Brave, my friend.
I think he goes back to the Texas Rangers. He's from Texas. He brings a lot of stability to that Rangers rotation. He's a veteran. Helped them win a World Series a couple of years ago. The Rangers, they need some veterans in that rotation. I got them getting Snell, but they need I think one more after that to go with DeGrom and to go with guys like Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker and Andrew Heaney as well. I think John Gray and Max Scherzer are free agents. So I think he stays with Texas on like a short-term, like 2-year contract.
Next one we got is your old friend Jeff Hoffman from the Philadelphia Phillies. With me for Jeff Hoffman, this is a really fascinating one because I've heard his name, potentially him extending to become a starter maybe down the road. I'm not sure. Like a long relief. We've kind of seen that around. But for me with Jeff Hoffman, I actually have him staying with the Philadelphia Phillies on like a 2-3 year type of deal. I think that he could be around 2-3 years, but I have him sticking with the Phillies.
That's interesting that he might start. I think he's better in the bullpen, but Jeff Hoffman. Ooh.
My other choice, Isaiah, was actually Texas for Jeff Hoffman.
I could see that because they do need help in the rotation. I mean, in the bullpen. And he could be that swing guy if like guys like Leiter or guys like Kumar Rocker, they end up failing. You know what? I'm going to go with Texas. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think he's from that area as well. That bullpen, they need help because Robertson's a free agent. Leclerc's very up and down. Chaffin's a free agent. Kirby Yates is a free agent. They need a lot of help in that bullpen. I wouldn't be surprised, Ben, if Texas went for like 2 or 3 relievers in this market.
And we're going to do one more free agent before we get into some trade candidates really quick and make some bold predictions. So Kirby Yates is my last one, speaking of Kirby Yates. And I have him also going to the Philadelphia Phillies, and I have him becoming the new closer. Kirby Yates obviously was fantastic last year for the Texas Rangers. I feel like he'd be really consistent as that closer, and he really wouldn't cost a lot compared to a guy like a Tanner Scott or whatever. So I have Kirby Yates going to the Philadelphia Phillies. How about you?
I got Kirby Yates going to the Los Angeles Dodgers. That bullpen's not like it's not that good. They have Trine in there, but isn't Trine a free agent? If I'm not, yeah, yep. He's a free agent, so he might not be brought back. There's other players that are either free agents or they had down years. Kirby Yates had a phenomenal year last year. The Dodgers have seen what he can do, in his time with the Padres. I think he goes to the Dodgers. I think he helps solidify that Dodgers bullpen.
All right, so there were obviously some names that we did not get into. Maybe next time we'll get into some remainder of the ones. But let's do some trade candidates, Isaiah. You want to obviously start with some trade candidates and maybe some potential fits for these teams?
Yeah, let's get into it, man.
All right, let's do it. So some trade candidate guys to watch out for, of course, is going to be starting with Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert. Now, for Garrett Crochet, for me, I think that there's this one team that just screams Garrett Crochet. And this is not me being a biased homer whatsoever, but I have him as well becoming a Boston Red Sox. I think that he is going to be traded to Boston, and Willie Abreu, a couple prospects that the Red Sox will be having, will be going to Chicago, and you'll have a 1-2 punch of Max Fried and Garrett Crochet, 2 southpaws becoming Boston Red Sox. I think that Crochet gives me a very Chris Sale-like type of feel. So you have like you have kind of like the old of a 1-2 punch, and then you kind of have the 3-4-5 of some guys you also can trust as well, and really got that rotation and to swing here. So I got Garrett Crochet going to Boston and becoming their number 2 pitcher.
I got Garrett Crochet. Oh, that's tough. You know what? I'm gonna do it. I think Garrett Crochet goes to the Dodgers. I got the Dodgers missing on a lot of these big time free agents, like Sasaki and Burns, and some of these like starters. So I think like I said, they need to fortify that rotation. Max Fried is a good start, but the Dodgers were actually in on Crochet at the trade deadline, and so they were in on him. They couldn't get him. They ended up getting Flaherty, who I think will still be back with the Dodgers, but I think you need another arm. So I got Crochet going to LA.
Next guy is also in the White Sox, and that is Luis Robert Jr. Now, this is obviously a guy last year that wasn't great, but you kind of see his overall, stature. He absolutely hits the ball like no other's business. His exit feel is absolutely ridiculous. Now, this is going to be tough because I think that there's a lot of teams out there for Luis Robert, but he might not be as expensive as some other guys that you might think about. But for me, I got Luis Robert Jr., and Isaiah, you might like this one. I have him going to the Philadelphia Phillies in a trade. And I think that he's going to be going to the outfield. I think that Harper's going to be full-time first base, so Robert's going to go to the outfield, and I think they're going to work something out over there. I think that the Phillies really aren't going to be aggressive when it comes to position players in the free agency class, but I think that Robert Jr. is going to be my guy in the trade market. So give me Luis Robert Jr. to the Phillies, and I think that the Phillies will give some of their high-end prospects to Chicago.
I could see that, and honestly, I would love it because they would add athleticism to the outfield and finally solve our issues in center field. For Luis Robert, I got him going to Baltimore. I think that, the Orioles last season, I know they took a chance on Eloy Jimenez. That did not work out at all. He was awful for them. But Luis Roberts is better than Eloy Jimenez. He's younger. He's a guy that can hit for power. He's a guy that's really fast as well, can hit the ball to all parts of the field. The Orioles, I got them. I don't have them really doing much this offseason in terms of free agency wise. So they got to make a splash to counter the Yankees, to counter the Red Sox. I got them getting Luis Roberts just to fortify that outfield and to replace Anthony Santander.
All right, this one might be one that might happen, might not. Nolan Arenado. His name has basically been floating out there from the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are a team that might be kind of trying to set some payroll here, and Arenado's name has been floating around. So let's have some fun here and put our GM caps on just in case if Arenado somehow left. And for me, I have him going to the Dodgers. I think that, he could play the hot corner there. Something just would tell me LA. And I think that, he's not the same guy he once was, but I think that he could help out with their defense at the hot corner. So if Arenado somehow, some way left the Cardinals, that's the place I would have him going to.
For me, I got him going to the Houston Astros to replace Alex Bregman. Jim Crane, their owner, he loves the big names. And if Bregman walks, they're going to need someone that is a big name to replace him at third base to keep that contending status. I got them getting not only Arenado, but like I said in my free agency predictions, Willie Adames to help fortify that infield with Arenado and Adames with Altuve as well. So that's going to be a pretty good infield for the Houston Astros.
All right, so I gave you 3 names on the trade candidate. I obviously have a couple other ones, but I want to take it to you, my friend, and have you give me some, complete this overall segment.
All right, so let's go to a guy that's been talked about this offseason a lot, and that is Alec Bohm. The Phillies are well known to be shopping him around this offseason. Ben, this is a tough one because I think he is going to get moved because I think the Phillies want to get better defensively and more athletic. For Bohm, I'll let you go first on this. Where do you have Alec Bohm going?
I'm going to go with the sleeper one. I got him going to the Toronto Blue Jays. I think that the Blue Jays really don't have a lot at the hot corner. They got Addison Barger, they got Ernie Clement. I think that, I'm not saying that Bohm could be the next like Matt Chapman per se in that hot corner, but I feel like that he can kind of give them some stability. And Vladdy Jr. is of course going to be a free agent after this next year. He's going to want to get some guys that can really come in and make offensive impact. And I know that obviously Bohm is not the great defensive position player, but I do think that he could potentially give a team like the Blue Jays a spark in the middle of the order. He hits all fields, and he's a pretty good overall, regular season hitter for sure. So I think that it would kind of potentially fit the mold. And I feel like the Blue Jays and the Phillies feel like could be a decent trade partner.
Yeah, I could see that. The thing with Bowman is like I feel like he gets a bad rep. Like he's not the worst third baseman in the world. Like, yeah, sometimes he makes just blunders that just make you go crazy. But I mean, I think with Bohm, I just think like he's a guy that, needs to get out of that pressure cooker in Philadelphia. I think he needs to go somewhere else, change the scenery, preferably like a small market team. So it's also tough because I mean, there's a lot of places I could see him going, and taking a chance on him. I'm gonna go with the Kansas City Royals. Take a chance on a guy like that's young, that's got good upside. With Bobby Witt, he fits that team where he's gonna be in that small market where he's not gonna get a lot of attention. And he can thrive there. Like I feel like him, Bobby Witt, him being like a fifth or sixth best hitter. I think that could fit for the Kansas City Royals.
Devin Williams. You want to do Devin Williams next?
Yes.
Let's do Devin Williams next, my friend, because I feel like he kind of gives me the Corbin Burns from the Brewers of last year, where a lot of the times when you have a guy on Milwaukee that's right at the end of their contract, what do? They don't keep them; they move them on. So, and Devin Williams, of course, is still one of the best closers in baseball. So for me, I have him. This is going to be a little bit of a shocker one to me, but I think that this can really be a really fun back end of the bullpen. Give me Devin Williams to the New York Mets to match with Edwin Diaz. I feel like at times Edwin Diaz gets hurt and he gets injured, but I also just think that just the vibe there would be absolutely electric. You would have basically two closers. You wouldn't have to really cost the bank for him, be able to be in a trade. And David Stearns, the Milwaukee connection, I still think is still alive. And I think that he's going to make a way to get not only Corbin Burns, but to get Devin Williams to New York and really make not only the pitching side from the front end really stacked, but the back end side of the bullpen stacked. So give me Devin Williams to the New York Mets to match with Edwin Diaz.
Ben, that might be your bonus prediction of the night, and I absolutely love it, man. Like that's a great one right there. I'm gonna give you my absolutely bonkers one like later on, but
Okay.
a little bit later. But for Devin Williams, I got him being in the New York area, but not the Mets. I think he's gonna go to the Yankees.
I was thinking that too.
To pair that bullpen. That Yankee pen was awful last season. I think they lose Clay Holmes in free agency. You need someone to like be that sort of backup just in case Luke Weaver fails, in a full season as the closer. So give me Devin Williams as to the Yankees. I think the Yankees are gonna go for it. They were so close last year to winning it, and sadly they blew it. Had they had Devin Williams last year, would they have won it? Maybe, but I think outside of Weaver, they didn't really have someone that you could really depend on. So give me Devin Williams going to the New York Yankees.
All right. Next is Ryan Helsley from the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, Helsley and Williams are basically the two guys that could be out there in terms of the best closing candidates. Helsley, I feel, is going to get a really good market. His stuff is absolutely disgusting. Oh, man. How do I want to do this? You know what? Oh, man. If you already know yours, I would let you go for yours first.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he goes. I don't think he gets traded in the offseason. I think he gets traded at the deadline. I think St. Louis is going to be really bad this upcoming season. They're going to tank. And I think that they're going to have a lot more pieces to sell come deadline. And I think it'll be better to deal him at the deadline when a lot of teams are in for him, because he's going to be the main piece out there at the trade deadline.
Okay. I got one. This is another one. If this ever happened. Right? Ryan Helsley, you're going to be becoming a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks. You need some back end help in the bullpen. And I feel like that Ryan Helsley, he's one of the best closers in the game. They need a flamethrower. They need some guy that can throw strikes. And Paul Sewald, right? He used to be their closer, but he's definitely not the same guy he once was. Maybe Sewald becomes the eighth inning guy. You bring Helsley, he stays in the National League, and I think that him in Arizona could be a very fascinating fit. So kind of two really out of breakers there for my fits, but I kind of like it too.
All right. So Ben, I got one name that we haven't mentioned that I don't know if he's going to get traded. He's kind of in that Helsley boat where I could see it being like a trade deadline type of thing. And he gets traded then if his team tanks. Or there's actually two players that are kind of in that boat. Mm-hmm. Chris Bassett. Because the thing with the Blue Jays is like I could see them having a fire sale, but at the deadline, if they really like suck and they tank, I could see Bassett being traded. But before we go to Bassett, the extremely, extremely bold prediction I have for you for this offseason is that I think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. will get traded. And, because the Blue Jays, I don't think are going to be able to work out an extension for him. And then he's going to, they want to get, a lot of stuff back for him. I don't think they wait till the deadline, because at the deadline, I don't know if you're going to get the best of the best. So I think Vladdy gets traded, and here's where I got him going. I got Vladdy getting traded to the Texas Rangers for Jack Leiter, for Nathaniel Lowe, and a couple of other prospects as well. And also, don't be shocked if Josh Jung is thrown into that deal for the Blue Jays because he's been injured a lot, in his entire career. And the Rangers have a guy in Josh Smith who played really well last year in the absence of Jung, and basically, minimized Jung's absence. So Texas wants to do big things. They want to do big things. They went out, got Seager. They went out, got Simeon. Then they got Scherzer at the deadline. They got Eovaldi. The Rangers, I think, are going to be very active this offseason. So I got them getting Vladdy, and I just think that they're going to go all in for it because they know the division's weak. They know that, hey, we're a team that maybe it's our last couple of years winning until we have to maybe do a semi-retool because Bochy's 70 years old. Who knows how long he's going to manage. I think they go all in this year. I think they get Vladdy to go with. I mean, think about that lineup. You have Simeon leading off. Then you potentially have you have Seager, and then after that, you have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. As your first baseman next.
Another thing too, it basically takes away. I mean, obviously, Adolis Garcia, who really wasn't great last year, I feel like can maybe be then your fifth hitter, and maybe that kind of takes some pressure off of him to be potentially have to be pressured to be that right-handed power bat threat.
Yeah, and I think that also Nathaniel Lowe he's good, but if you can get Vladimir Guerrero Jr., then go for it. He's way better than Nathaniel Lowe. And I think when you look at the Rangers prospects that I have them giving up, I like Jack Leiter, but I just don't know if he's going to ever make it as a big league starter. He's got good stuff. He just can't control his stuff. And with Josh Jung, very great player, can't stop getting injured. And so I think when you look at those two players, those two players are viewed highly around the league. I think the Blue Jays, they just cannot resist that trade. I mean, if someone is offering you that much for Vladdy Jr. on a 1 year deal, I think you have to take it. I think that might be the best that you get.
Yeah, that's interesting. My last thing of predictions that I wanted to mention was Paul Goldschmidt, and I have him going to the New York Yankees. That's essentially my replacement for Anthony Rizzo. So I know you had Walker to the Yankees. For me, my replacement for Rizzo is going to be Paul Goldschmidt. All right, so
How about Bassett for do you have Bassett or Vladdy going anywhere? Or do you think they get dealt like at the deadline if Toronto sucks next season?
yeah, so I think Vlad is going to play out this season with Toronto, and I think that he's going to go out for a payday for next year. I still think I think it's gonna be very similar to Soto. I think that he wants to be the main guy as the headline of the market. I think that he's gonna basically want to meet with some teams. Um, Now, obviously, if the talks don't go great throughout the season, I could see it maybe at the midpoint of the season. But as of right now, I don't see anything for Bassett. Deadline, trade deadline to watch out for. That could be a really fascinating one for a team that's in need. Um, a team maybe that could maybe use him as of right now. Honestly, it could be. I could see two. I could see the Cleveland Guardians if they don't bring back Shane Bieber, because Bieber is also free agent, or the Minnesota Twins. The Minnesota Twins basically, you have Pablo Lopez, but you need obviously a couple guys in the middle part of the rotation. Bassett's basically more of a middle guy than more of an ace. I feel like that those could be some interesting fits as well.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, I don't think the Blue Jays are going to go full tank this offseason. I think they'll trade Vladdy, but I think Bichette. What's that?
Bo Bichette's obviously been a name that people have been throwing out for, but I think he leaves.
I think he leaves. Don't be shocked about Boston. For some reason, I think he would be really good at Fenway Park. Like I think he needs that big market. I just feel like for him to like thrive there, and I think he's going to be dealt at the deadline. I think Bassett probably deadline. There's one more guy that I'm forgetting off the tip of my tongue.
Toronto.
Yeah, for Toronto.
Gossman?
What's that?
Is it Gossman?
No, it wasn't Gossman. It was shoot. Yeah, I could see Barrios also being dealt as well, but don't forget it. I mean, don't forget about Bassett to the Giants. I could see that because of the whole Bob Melvin connection. And Bob Melvin needs to win because if the Giants do not make the playoffs next season, they have a new president of baseball operations with Buster Posey. I could see Bob Melvin getting fired if the Giants don't have success the next season.
All right. Well, I feel like we could play this game for the rest of the night, but I know that obviously it's getting late. So that's obviously everything that we have right now. I know that we, of course, going to get through all of it, and we'll obviously do some more in our next episode. But that's basically our free agency prediction game for basically the top end of the free agents, some of the mid part of the free agents, and of course, some names to watch out for if you're in the trade market. But I think really quickly to conclude tonight for Sports Weekly, as I wanted to quickly get a quick little basketball segment in, because, of course, we really haven't talked about some basketball. I know Isaiah has been really highly of how his Lakers have been in the newcomer Delta Connect has been playing. So really quickly, I wanted to get into some quick basketball stuff. Isaiah, let me ask you this, because I know you, of course, have been saying it off the air. In terms of the NBA Cup, I don't know if I asked you about that last year, but do you feel like, because I know last year was the first year that they did it. Of course, now the NBA Cup, for those that don't know, is going on currently right now, still as we speak. Are you in favor of the NBA Cup, or you're not in favor of the NBA Cup?
I mean, like, I've kind of gotten used to it. So, I mean, I'm kind of getting used to like it happening. I mean, it makes the courts look amazing. The jerseys look really good. The Lakers one look good. The Raptors uniform, I don't know if you saw that, Ben, with the dinosaur. That looks amazing. So I do like the uniforms and the courts. I just don't know if it's necessary, but I don't hate it as much as I did like back when it was first announced. So, I've slowly become a fan of it.
Another big thing, of course, in basketball recently was the Cleveland Cavaliers had one of the best starts to the NBA season, and they played against the Boston Celtics, which I don't know if you got the chance to watch the game, Isaiah, but you, of course, had the defending champs going against the number one seed currently right now in the East, we'll have to see if that will be the finish line because I still feel like we are going to be there. But discredit or not, the Cleveland Cavaliers have been absolutely incredible. They had a 15-0 start coming into Boston, and they got it snapped on Tuesday night. But they did win the other night. I think it was yesterday. The Cavaliers are 16-1, just absolutely great start. And Kenny Atkinson, you got to give him a lot of praise. Of course, the Cavs brought him in. He's really done a great job. Darius Garland's been absolutely incredible this year. Donovan Mitchell, of course, doing his thing. Mobley taking another leap, and Jared Allen doing his thing as well. So the Cavs obviously been great. My Celtics are obviously still doing fine. Of course, they got Kristaps Porzingis. We're 12-3. We're only 3 games back with the 2 seed right now. Of course, for the Celtics are the Celtics. They're going to be right there at the end when it's all said and done. They obviously have had some pickup games here and there, but most of it has been basically what I was kind of accustomed to. The third seed is the Knicks. Knicks kind of had a little bit of a slow start, but they really started to turn things on recently. Cat's obviously been really good for their team. He's been a really good addition. Bridges obviously, Jalen Brunson obviously had a really big game yesterday against the Suns. So the Knicks are really starting to play a lot better basketball. They're on a 4-game win streak. And another team to watch is the Orlando Magic. I know a lot of people have been talking about how they have the Magic, but Paulo Banchero, folks, was down and hurt, so they really had to kind of piece it together, and they've done a pretty good job without Banchero. They're 4th right now in the East. They're 10-7, so they're basically still right there. And then the last 2 teams in the 5 and 6 spot are teams that are under 500, really basically under 500, but they're close to it. The Heat and the Atlanta Hawks. Heat are 6-7, and the Hawks are 7-9. I didn't get the chance to talk about this, Isaiah, but when I was actually away on this past weekend in DC, I got the chance to go see the Washington Wizards against the Detroit Pistons. Now, you might be asking me, why in the world would this man, as a Celtics fan, be going to see that type of game? And you know what? My answer is, to be honest, I'm not sure. It was really my buddy and I both love basketball. We wanted something fun to do. And, it sucks because if I went to DC this week and the Celtics are going to be there tomorrow, so theoretically I'm going to be missing my team in DC by 1 weekend, but it's what it is. But it was really cool to see another NBA game in person, at least for the season, regardless if I cared or not, which I didn't care. The Wizards have some pieces, but my goodness, they do not play defense. Just looking at it live, it's not good at all. The Pistons, on the other hand, could be a very fascinating team. I really like some of the pieces that they had there. Cade Cunningham, of course, leading the way. But Malik Beasley was absolutely incredible the game I was at. He was, of course, a sharpshooter from the Bucks. He's really been playing well for them. Jaden Duran, their center. Jaden Ivey, Isaiah, had 2 buzzer beaters in the game that I was at. I think it was the first quarter and the second quarter. Jaden Ivey had 2 buzzer beaters. So the Pistons are a team to watch out for, headlined by JP Bickerstaff. They're actually the 7th seed right now. So I'll give a little credit to the Pistons. I don't know if it's going to really be, them right at the end. The 2 teams that have had really slow starts to the year, of course, have been the Milwaukee Bucks and the Indiana Pacers. Doc Rivers, we've talked a lot about our good friend Doc Rivers. People want to think he's already fired there. Chris Middleton, of course, has not played yet for the Bucks. He's currently been hurt. And who knows if he comes back. The Pacers obviously have had a very slow start to the year as well. But my goodness, we have not talked about the one team I feel like that we want to talk about. Is that the team that you're maybe thinking about? Is that the team from Philly? How about the Philadelphia 76ers, my guy? The Philadelphia 76ers, in the first 14 games, have only won 2 games with Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid. Yes, folks, you've heard that right. And I know that obviously they have not all played together at one point in time. They obviously did it yesterday, but the Sixers, at least right now, are not a good team. That big 3. I mean, Paul George does not look like he's the same guy. Unfortunately, he got hurt again. Yesterday, he hyperextended his left knee, which of course he hyperextended during the preseason, and looks like he might be only missing a couple games. But there's been some stuff off the court. I don't know if you had the chance to see it from Sham's article that Tyrese Maxey had to call Joel Embiid for being late to a meeting. That's not what you want to hear the first 14 games of the season. So they're complete disarray. The Sixers are not in a good place whatsoever. And then looking at the Western side of things, your Lakers, Isaiah, are currently around in 4th place. They're 10-5. they're only right behind the Houston Rockets, the Thunder, and the Golden State Warriors. So it's not surprising the West, of course, is going to be competitive throughout. So I could take you over to the Western side of things because that's where your team is. But man, just a lot of great.
Before you do continue with the West, I do want to play this video and give a shout out if I could.
Sure.
69-68. Once again, they bring it down to 11 and connect right back to 14. Like I said, they don't want to think just like they're staying in the zone. Connect, fire it up again. Got it! On fire! Connect 4 for 3. Back-to-back hoops by Connect. They've got to do something different. Another one. Dalton Connect. I think they're going to be. They got Williams out of the zone now. Here he is. Connect. Thought about it. He's going up. He's going on his way. Down it goes. Yes, sir. Show off a little bit, Dalton.
Let me give a shout out to Dalton Connect. You know that was coming. Listen, that might have been the greatest shooting performance in a quarter that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I was watching that game, and the Lakers were up 7 at that point in the game, and Dalton Connect comes in. we all knew he was a great shooter. If you followed the NCAA tournament, you knew how great of a player this kid was, and he comes in, and he made 6 threes in 6 straight possessions. I mean, the Lakers just gave him the ball and said, shoot the ball, and he shot it, and then one by one, it kept going in. I mean, it looked like it was like something from like prime Klay Thompson or Steph Curry that we were watching. I mean, it was 6 possessions in a row, 6 straight threes by Dalton Connect. He was just unbelievable. He's been unbelievable this season. And, I do want to, say, like, what the heck were the Utah Jazz doing? Like, the Utah Jazz were running a zone. You know how to beat a zone? 3-point shooting. You know what a zone does? It gives the shooter ample space. So it's like you're basically giving Dalton Connect free space and a wide open shot every time. You know what's funny is it didn't take until Dalton Connect's 6th 3 in the 6th possession that the Jazz finally changed their strategy to go back to playing man-to-man defense. It literally went from a 7-point game to a 25-point game, and then the Jazz were like, oh yeah, we have to change our defense. Like, what? Like, what? He made his 6th 3, and you finally change up your defense. Like, come on, Will Hardy. Like, I know he's a former Celtic assistant, but come on, man. Like,
that's only why they're a 3-1 team right now. They're essentially they're gonna be in the dumpster. Larry Markkinen definitely should be getting out of that hellhole pretty soon. He could be a name to watch out for, honestly, at the trade deadline because he definitely deserves better for sure. But yeah, I want to quickly ask you really quick, Isaiah, before I think we conclude for the night, is truly, how do you feel about your Lakers, at least to start the season? Of course, they're 10-5. Your impressions on JJ Redick so far, because I don't really get the chance to talk a lot of hoops with you as much as some of the other sports that we talk about. But, you guys are right there in the thickness of things. Of course, you just talked about Dalton Connect, some guys off the bench that have done well. And just when you look around the overall Western Conference of things, what are some of the other teams that you feel like the Lakers could be threats to?
Ben, it seems like this is like the Lakers are like the team. I'm gonna steal a phrase from my guy Stephen Wang. I'm gonna steal a phrase from him, and that is the Lakers seem like the team of destiny this year. Because when you look at the Lakers right now, I've been very, very impressed with JJ Redick as a coach. I'll be the first to say this on the air that I was wrong about JJ Redick. You guys know I wanted Monty Williams badly. Because I thought that he was a really good tactician. I thought he was a very good motivator. I thought he would have been a really good head coach for the Lakers. I even wanted Dan Hurley, and I know Dan Hurley ended up staying in UConn, like you have it on that shirt right there. But I think for the JJ Redick's been very impressive. The thing that's different with him and Darvin Ham is that Darvin Ham, when the other team would go on a run, he would literally just stand there with his hands in his pockets, just looking at the court like dazed. Like, I was like, what are you doing, dude? Like, call a timeout for crying out loud. But JJ, whenever a team goes like on even a 5-0 run, it's like, quick, timeout, timeout, timeout. And it stops the momentum, and he knows how to use timeouts. He knows when to use timeouts. His out of timeout plays are phenomenal. It seems like the Lakers always get like great looks every time we come out of a timeout. And that's credit to the head coach. Also, our offense is amazing. Like, we're finally running that ball movement, player movement style offense that the Warriors and the Spurs ran for years. Not like, ISO ball, dribble, and then we wait till like, there's 10 seconds on the shot clock, and then we finally make a move. I've been very impressed with JJ Redick. I think his offense has been very impressed. The defense needs a lot of work, though, because I think the Lakers are ranked like in the bottom of the NBA in terms of defense, but JJ Redick's been very, very impressive, and I'm so glad he's our head coach. And when you look at the Lakers right now, Ben, like, everything's basically the same. But what is different is the emergence of Dalton Knecht. And that's why when he got drafted, I was like so, happy, because I was like, dude, this kid, I watched him at Tennessee. I was like, wow, this kid is an amazing shooter. He is a baller. Like, not only, like, people think of Dalton Knecht as just like a JJ Redick, like 3-point specialist. He's far more than that. Like, he reminds me of Klay Thompson, where I
was going to say better version of Austin Reeves.
Yeah. But I think Klay Thompson is a better mold that he fits, because like, he's a better like guy that's like really good off the ball shooter. But when he doesn't shoot the three, he doesn't hesitate to drive into the paint and slash and, make those turnaround mid ranges that, we grown accustomed to seeing Klay Thompson make. So, Dalton Knecht has really changed the trajectory of the Lakers. I think he should be in the starting lineup moving forward. I think that JJ would be like idiotic to not start him. I think him and Reeves, I think that's a perfect backcourt, because Reeves is good at handling the basketball, moving the ball, and then Knecht is a guy that's like really good at coming off screens and just thriving without the basketball and making some really good high IQ plays. And with LeBron, AD, that's why I really wanted for years, Ben. I really wanted like a Devin Booker, Klay Thompson like player who could just stretch the floor and didn't need the ball, like a guy that could, LeBron and AD would always, clog the paint. They would bring so much attention in that area. And then you have a guy in Knecht or Klay Thompson or Booker that would be able to stand in the corner and just knock down every three that they get. And that's how they would thrive. And that's what Knecht is fitting so perfectly in right now. And when you look at the rest of the NBA right now, a lot of these teams have their issues, right? Like the Thunder, Chet Holmgren's going to be out, I think, until February. Like, that's a big loss. Hopefully he heals up soon. The Warriors, I don't really believe in them. I think I know they've gotten off to a hot start, but their schedule has been very, very easy. Denver, meh. I mean, the loss of KCP really hurts. Christian Brown hasn't really done much for them in that starting shooting guard role. And then you look at the other teams, OKC, like we talked about OKC, no Chet. They've lost some games that they shouldn't have lost. The Clippers don't have Kawhi, so who knows? Yeah, who knows how long he's going to be out.
Sorry, James. Yeah,
Kevin Durant. Yeah. Sorry, James. That's just a mess right there. But the Suns, I know they got off to a hot start, but Durant's been out. He's been very injured there in Phoenix, and I think they started 8-1, and they're now they're 1-6 ever since Kevin Durant got injured. So they've fallen back down to earth. But I mean, the Lakers, they're just playing well. LeBron doesn't have to do much these days. AD's dominating. He's putting up MVP numbers. And then you have Knecht, who's been outstanding from three-point land and as an offensive force. And then, I just think the one weakness the Lakers do need to work on is the bench, because that bench really, if Knecht's not part of the bench, we really don't have anything right now, because Russell's only giving you he's been very inconsistent. Like tonight, he had 5 points in the entire game off the bench. And that's why we lost him, because what's that?
How many minutes was that for?
Oh, I gotta see. But if you look at the Lakers tonight, the reason why we lost, is because I gotta give credit where credit is due. Franz Wagner is unbelievable. This dude put up
Yeah,
37 points tonight. Like some of the moves that he was making offensively was just crazy. Russell played 23 minutes. He had 7 points. 7 points. That's it.
What was his line from the field?
I think he was. I think he was like 2 for 6. He took 6 shots, which he needs to be moved because he doesn't fit that bench role, sadly, for the Lakers. But if you look at this bench, look at the Lakers bench, Ben. LeBron had 31, Anthony Davis had 39, connected 17. The big three had like majority of the points. The rest of the guys, Cam Reddish had 8, Austin Reeves had 9, Max Christie
on the bench with Connect doing much better. Is Reeves playing more bench roles?
I think Reeves is the starting point guard, and Connect is like, so Rui Hachimura has been out, so that's why Connect's been filling in for Rui. But we'll see what happens when Rui comes back. But with Reeves and with Connect, I think they're just a better fit. And with the Lakers, like that bench, Koloko had 0. Gabe Vincent went 0 for 5 from downtown. I mean, it's a surprise when he makes a 3. That's how like often he makes a 3 nowadays. Max Christie, I mean, the guy, like, look, I don't want to hate on him, but the guy played 25 minutes, gave me 5 points. He's averaging 3 points a game. And here's the thing about Max Christie that I got to get off my chest. Everybody was talking about how Max Christie is so good. Max Christie needs more minutes. Max Christie is going to be so good for us. Some Laker fans were even saying that Max Christie could be part of like the big 3 with LeBron and AD. And we gave him a 4-year, $32 million deal. This dude on opening night shot attempted 4 3-pointers. 3 of them were air balls, and 1 hit the side of the rim. And, I think he played a total of 9 minutes. Oh, get this. On opening night, he played a total of 9 minutes. He was supposed to be this defensive stalwart. In 9 minutes, he picked up 5 fouls. He picked up 5 fouls in a total of 9 minutes, and he's been in and out of the rotation this season. So that bench needs to get better. Like LeBron, AD, and Connect have been great. Rui's been all right. Reeves has been like decent. But out of that 5, like you don't really get any production. Like Koloko, awful. Vincent, awful. Jared Vanderbilt, every time, I don't want to laugh at injury, but every time like the Lakers say, oh, we'll have an update on him in 2 weeks, then 2 weeks later, it's like, oh, we'll have another update on him in 3 weeks. Like this dude's been out for like 6 months already. And then same with Christian Wood. Like this dude I think he had off-season surgery, and then the Lakers were like, oh, we'll have an update in a couple of months. Couple months roll by, and as training camp is about to start, they say like, oh, we'll have an update in 3 weeks. 3 weeks roll by, it's another 2 weeks. Then 2 weeks roll by. Literally, we just got an update that Christian Wood will miss the next 4 to 6 weeks because he had another setback. Like these 2 guys cannot stop getting hurt. I mean, like Vanderbilt, it's literally like when they say they have an update and like when they say they're ramping up, like you're not going to see him for like the next 3-4 weeks. And then after that, it's going to be 3-4 more weeks. So, yeah, I think the Lakers, they definitely need like better bench. And then, I think they need like another big, because I think when we won the title back in 2020, we won it with Anthony Davis playing the 4 and then Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee playing the 5. And that's how we thrived. But I think we need another big man. And if you can get a guy like a Colin Sexton, who I think would be a better fit than D'Angelo Russell off the bench, I think that would be very, very beneficial for the Lakers. But when you look at the West right now, Ben, like a lot of these teams that you expected to be good, they're struggling or they're injured. So the Lakers, they got to take advantage. And right now, like if you look at that schedule coming up, Nuggets on Saturday, that's going to be a big test. I think they have OKC, but Holmgren's not going to be there. And then they have a couple other games, I think against Miami and a couple of others that you're like, okay, you should win those games because either the star is not playing or that team just sucks.
All right. Well, that was your report from Isaiah from the Lakers standpoint. From my Celtics standpoint, I basically kind of said it. We're basically looking like the Celtics that we know and love. So that's basically all I will say. All right. Well, that'll conclude tonight's show on Sports Weekly. I want to thank Isaiah for coming on. Isaiah, just a really good show, my friend. We got through a lot of stuff. Football front, baseball front, a little bit of NBA front. So without further ado, I will give it over
Ben,
to you.
Before if I could make an announcement, we are thinking, since Thanksgiving is coming up next week, we are thinking about doing our MI6 Sports Network annual Thanksgiving special, maybe on next Monday or Tuesday, one of those days, depending on our work schedule. It's going to be a multi-hour special. We're going to cover every sport and just have some fun. We're going to have some Thanksgiving fun, like talk about things that we're thankful for, talk about like some fun Thanksgiving stuff. So make sure you guys tune in for that. It's going to be a great show. Cannot wait. And also
talk about the football games on the day too.
Yes, we're gonna do our Thanksgiving pigskin pick'em, which is gonna be great because I love rivalry week in college football. It's one of my favorites. And then the other thing I do want to say before we sign off is I do want to give a shout out to ESPN and Turner for working out a deal to save Inside the NBA and have Inside the NBA on ESPN, because now that erases two problems. Number one, Inside the NBA is going to be back. They're no longer going to be dead. And also, ESPN now has a competent, amazing pre- and post-game show. No more NBA countdown with like Stephen A. Smith and all of that. Like, it's going to be Inside the NBA. And, Ben, we get to see Inside the NBA for the NBA Finals. Like, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Definitely didn't get the chance to talk about that stuff. But I'm all great show, my friend. Obviously looking forward to everything coming up. We'll obviously have more stuff on the Soto front probably next week. We're going to talk more about football. College football's last big week is actually next week, which is absolutely scary to think. A lot of the rankings will be already coming out, so we'll talk about that probably next week. So make sure to join for that. Kicking with Cruz. We'll make sure to have hopefully a show by the end of this weekend. I'll try to see what I can do, or definitely early next week. And basically a lot of stuff that we kind of talked about over there is some of the stuff we talked about here as well too. So hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and hopefully you guys have a great start to the weekend. So without further ado, I'm Ben Cruz. This is Isaiah Leon signing you off from tonight's program. Like as always, guys, make sure to follow us on the IM6 MI6 Sports Network if you guys want to get everything from our content. But without further ado, I will give you guys over to the outro to conclude the overall show for tonight. And let's get to the finish line here. We will see you guys next time. Thank you guys for watching.
But I said, if you gave me Mahomes, if you gave me Lamar Jackson with his great legs and Mahomes' great arm, or you gave me Baker Mayfield, who would I want? I would want Baker Mayfield, and the reason why is because Baker Mayfield.
I really think that now this is the worst case scenario for the San Francisco 49ers, is that they're going to have to cut ties with Jimmy Garoppolo if I were them. What? Oh my God! Wow, man!
In any event, Kyle Gibson is definitely my NL Cy Award winner. Rock on, Gibby.
And even
No way!
Oh my God!